Louis that matters. WXOS HD1 East St. Louis, 101 ESPN. You're listening to The Fast Lane, broadcasting live from the Car Shield Studio on 101 ESPN.
Let's get nasty on a Friday. It's the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN with Jamie Rivers and our guy Dan McLaughlin, who's with us for the entire show today. Because Jamie's going to be out at 4. He's got some TV work to do.
Yeah, I got this thing going on downtown.
TV star.
Oh,
TV
geez.
star Jamie Rivers.
Let's hope the players are the stars tonight.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's always better when the players are the star of the show.
I don't, guys.
I think the refs. I think the refs is part of it.
Don't ask the refs that. Sorry, PLC.
Yeah, no kidding.
When Dan is looking at a baseball game or a hockey game or a football game, he goes, listen, all I care about is who's officiating tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Who's officiating?
Because I would like to
go
pay
see them.
the $250 to go down to the game to watch the ref.
Absolutely.
Or the umpire. Why not?
Yeah. That's what the Pittsburgh Steelers faithful did last night. They went to just see how many holding and procedural calls they could call in that one. That was ugly last night.
Do you think
Steelers
at some point Amazon pulls their Thursday night game because they're like, hey, you guys always give us crap games?
I think Al Michaels wants that.
It has. Yeah, Michaels is dying.
Oh, he
sounds checked out.
Yeah,
he kind of is,
and he's unbelievable. He's the best that's ever done it. But he sounds a little checked out because the opponents aren't great and the games aren't great.
No.
But when the action picks up, he's great. It's just you haven't had that on a Thursday night, really.
No. You're absolutely. The matchups are often rough. I don't blame the NFL for doing that though, because you've got games that are. I mean, it's a short week
with Amazon though. The money that's sitting right there, you want to start petting the cat the wrong way?
You back into a couple of decent matches. Just the fact, like, it's kind of a fall day as opposed to what we've been dealing with over the last week or so with the coldness. I'm in a good mood. I think the Blues upend the Devils tonight. I think that...
Ooh, Anthony, I like where your head's at.
I think the Blues pull off the old upset. I was looking at the matchup, guys. Blues typically fare well against the Devils. This New Jersey team hasn't always been great, so you got to kind of factor that in. But it's a home game Friday night. You had the day off. The way Coach was talking the other day.
The place will be buzzing, man.
The days of the week to me this week have been off.
It's because you're working like every minute of every day, so you forget what time it is and what day it is.
Right.
It's definitely, they kind of loop into each other.
Together.
Bleed together. That's what I'm looking for.
Loop.
Bleed.
Your head is on a loop, but the days bleed together. I feel good about it. Coach talked about how, he felt like the boys played a little better. He saw some better things in that last game against the Avs.
Yeah, the second period was definitely their best period of the game. Look, the New Jersey Devils are a lot like many opponents the Blues are going to have this year. Really fast and skilled.
Damn.
Jack Hughes.
Jack Hughes isn't bad. How about this for just a little bit of a...
Might be the best right now in the NHL.
Oh, he
so
is.
So if you're going down there, you're going to see his star.
He's a star for sure, but how about this one? I believe, and I'm going to double check this, I think I'm pretty correct on this, that Jack Hughes and Quinn Hughes are the first brothers to ever lead the NHL in scoring in their respective positions.
Really?
So Jack Hughes leads all scorers right now as a forward, and Quinn Hughes leads all defensemen in scoring, and Quinn Hughes is only 4 points behind his brother.
Wow.
Is that right? It's only 4 points behind his brother?
Yeah, and Jack Hughes leads the NHL right now with 20 points.
Wait till you watch him. If you're a fan, wait till you watch this dude skate. He is flying around the ice.
He's annoying, Dan.
He's annoying. Have fun describing that tonight on television.
I was going to say to people, look, that guy there, he's annoying. Someone should hit him.
Yeah.
But they can't catch him, but that's okay.
Catch him.
Pin him down, hit him hard.
Yeah.
Well, let's roll.
Talking hockey?
Yes. Good. Yeah, we'll stay with that.
All right, tell me how the Blues get better on the power play. They're 1 for 25, so it's under 4%. Or at 4%. What do they do on the power play?
I honestly feel like they just have to simplify it. Anthony, I've said this numerous times. Like, win a faceoff, make one pass, shoot the puck. But the biggest thing they have to do is retrieve the pucks. So, like, it's one thing to simplify it and shoot the puck, but if you don't have guys that are retrieving the pucks or winning those puck battles after that to regain possession, it's almost like a giveaway. So for me, the Blues just have to simplify it. Get some big bodies out there in front of the net and make it very, very obvious what you're trying to do. And then you challenge your own players to win those battles.
So they've had 25 power plays. They only have 32 shots. And that's kind of what you're talking about. That's the third from the bottom right now in the National Hockey League. You got to get, it's so cliche, but man, you got to get pucks on the net, and things happen. You get the crazy bounces. You get traffic in front. You get all those things, all the cliches. But man, Rivs, you know it. It's so true when that happens on a power play.
Well, you need the pucks and you need the bodies at the net. And that's the biggest thing that, like, you can't just throw pucks at the net because today's NHL, those are giveaways. The goalie's good enough, the defensemen are good enough to block the shot or take the puck and go with it. So you have to cause chaos down there, and you have to make the goalie feel uneasy about the whole play that's happening. And then on top of it, have to deal with stopping the puck the right way and not leaving a juicy rebound or having a squibbler go through under the arm and things like that. That's why you need bodies there. Initially, is to cause this chaos for the goaltender. And then, obviously, secondarily, you want to be there for a rebound or a deflection or anything. Even like you said, goes off your butt, off your leg, off your foot, into the net. You have to find a way to generate some offense on the power play, because I will say this, and I'll stand firm on this. If the Blues had 3 or 4 more power play goals, they'd probably have a couple more wins.
Probably right. Yep, that makes sense.
Because they've been in a lot of these games, and the power play's been the differentiator to where you're not scoring, so you don't get that extra goal to either tie the game or take the lead, and it costs you. Ultimately, it costs you wins.
Jamie, Dan, if I may, I was drawing up some plays last night for the old power play. And one thing that I came up with.
Did you do it like paper and pen?
Yeah, darn right I did.
Okay, good.
Old
Use
school
pen
style.
or pencil so you can erase it.
Yeah, you might need that eraser.
For some reason, I like to use pen and extra paper if I need to.
I mean, it sounds efficient.
Yeah. So here's the deal, guys. I think that the Blues on the power play need to line up 3 wide, okay? Go by a standard 3-by-1 formation. You got your quarterback, Torrey Krug, at the top of the key. You're going the oop tonight, okay? You line up 3 to one side. They're going to force their defense over to one side. Now you got one-on-one on the other, right? Now, Torrey Krug can either push the action forward if he's got some open ice, or he could get it out one-on-one. Either way, he's got some space out there. We call it the standard oop. I think this is how we generate more offense.
Yeah, Anthony, I mean, it's a great idea. However...
Oh, my.
Yeah, Janet. I feel the same way. The way I would defend that...
Yeah. Let's workshop this.
Like, if I may.
Sure.
Is it hot in here, by the way?
Yeah. It is getting hot in here.
I would just have my top of the diamond guy front the puck, and then I'd have my one guy on the sidewall cover all 3 guys that are all in one spot, because I don't need more than one guy to cover all those 3 guys.
Well, no, listen, we fan out a little bit, okay? I mean, once the play starts...
You fan out.
You can attack the seam.
So you're going to go 1-3-1 then, basically.
Well, we got the 3-by-1.
Yeah, but
if
you
your
fan them
quarterback
out, you're basically emulating the current power play setup.
No, I don't think you're grasping how
I'm with you,
sophisticated
Anthony.
this
I don't think
offense
Jamie
is.
gets it.
Thank you.
No
Dan.
problem.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
You know what, guys? You're right. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Do you think at any point that you can talk to Chief on this and get this implemented?
I think he'd definitely be all ears for this one, Anthony.
Good.
You know what? I'll schedule a private meeting between you and Chief.
I appreciate
and you
that,
can educate him on that.
Jamie,
There's patience threshold to be.
When you go on the road, though, you get a lot of one-on-one time on the plane, on the bus, down in the lobby of the hotels, or that kind of thing. It's so early, but what do you get from Chief, and what do you get from the assistants and what they're saying right now?
Well, to a man, they all believe they're better than what they're playing right now. And I don't disagree with that. Because if the power play, we go back to the power play, scoring a couple of goals, maybe that's a difference in 1 win, 2 wins. Kyrou scoring on one of his breakaway attempts.
Is that about what, 4 or 5?
4.
Yeah.
If he scores on one of those, maybe that's another differentiator as well. So you could have 2 to 3 more wins right now. And if you did that, you'd be at the top of the division. So you're not that far off. Now, the losses that you've had, they haven't looked pretty. Like, the Vancouver game wasn't pretty from start to finish. It just wasn't. It was one of those games where you're like, okay, that's just a terrible game. Try to learn from that. The Colorado game wasn't a terrible game. The first period was fairly even, edge Colorado. Second period, give the edge to the Blues. I thought they outplayed the Avalanche. Third period, the wheels fell off a little bit. So, consistency is the key here, but also putting the puck in the net. If you had 2 more wins for this Blues team, you're right there in the mix, man.
And you're not the Sharks.
No, oh God, no, you're not the Sharks. Sorry, Anthony.
No, I
Anthony's
don't
a
like
big Sharks fan.
I'm not. I do like sharks.
Yeah.
Do you
Just
really?
not those sharks. Yeah, they're fascinating fish.
The San Jose Sharks are awful.
I don't understand.
Awful.
How-
Like historically bad.
Yeah, like they're 0-9-1, and their goal differential in 10 games is minus 35.
That's a lot.
They gave up 10 last night.
And it was so bad.
That's a lot
again-
closer than a 10-1 score.
No, it
Vancouver
really wasn't.
didn't even challenge the goal that San Jose scored, and it would have been overturned. And it was like, we feel bad for you
Listen,
guys.
just-
This is third grade, so we're just going to let that go. Don't worry about
Yeah,
it.
because the goalie was bumped into, and I'm sure Rick Tocchet is sitting there going, like, I know my goalie wants the shutout here,
Yeah, but-
That was the one thing I thought about.
Yeah.
I don't know, though. If I'm the goaler, I'm like, hey, man, I want the shutout.
Right.
I'm a little pissed.
yeah,
A little bit.
yeah.
I get it, but I'm a little pissed.
There's a fine line there, right? So do you challenge it gets overturned and you look like a classless goofball?
I get it.
Or if you don't and you give up the goal and your goalie loses a shutout,
I get that.
Yeah.
or if you're wrong, period, and the goal stands, and then you
really look bad.
get another power play against you, but does it really matter? Yeah,
Right.
like, I don't know.
At that point, no.
There's probably a lot going on in that
Sharks-
split second. there.
Yeah.
The Sharks are going the A's model of
Yeah,
how
the
to
problem is that-
roster build.
But the problem with this strategy right now for the Sharks is there's no Connor Bedard at the end of the rainbow.
That's right.
No.
Like, there's some good young players, but there's no Connor Bedard. Like,
Right.
to tank this much, this quickly,
Yeah.
woof.
Not great.
No.
2:14, your time check is brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler with Dan McLaughlin and Jamie Rivers. Jamie with us until 4 o'clock. I'm Anthony Stalter. Let's get into the Thursday night football game and when some of the other NFL storylines from last night. Are the Steelers back?
No.
Ish?
Yes.
Their record would
No.
indicate that they're
Yes.
No.
back-ish.
Hot garbage.
So, Jamie's upset. He had the Titans last night. We'll get into it
did.
next on 101 ESPN.
That's why he doesn't like him.
first place in their division years ago. The Fast Lane on 101 ESPN.
Levis steps up, fires, and it's picked off. Quan Alexander cements it.
Al Michaels, the one and only Al Michaels, on the call last night as the Steelers came back to beat the Tennessee Titans 20-16. We are up 1 point against the Rizzuto show. Yes, Jamie had the Titans.
Why was I the only one on the Titans?
You're the only one on the Titans
I'm
on
sorry,
our
Anthony.
team. No, that's okay. That's right. I thought it was.
I thought we had it there for a little.
Hey, for 3.5 quarters, you did.
But
Do you guys go by the spread or just straight up?
Straight up.
Straight up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they had more on the Titans.
They had 2. They had Riz and I think Rafe was on the Titans. So we're up 1 going into
I'm
Sunday.
happy that I lost then, because it gave us the victory as a team.
For right now,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it's one day at a time, one game at a time,
No doubt.
one snap at a time.
Yes. I like your mentality. It's
not cliche
I like
at
your
all.
mentality.
No, you like my mentality?
I do.
Yeah. A lot of people do.
2 locations.
Tell them Anthony and Jamie sent you
That's
in.
right.
Visit them at lowtusa.com.
Cha-ching.
Bradford.
Bradford's panicking.
Bradford.
Come on, Bradford.
Come on, Bradford.
We have to hit it.
We said mentality, 2 locations, both in South County and West County. There it is.
you go.
There we go. Nice.
Well done.
Bradford is pinch hitting today for Marsh. So Bradford's doing
Marshy's got a big
great job.
bachelor party or something that they're doing.
Yeah,
does.
Had a
It's
Blues game.
going to be leaking its way down to the Enterprise Center. So I can't wait to be between the benches tonight and just be like scanning the suites trying to find Marshy's bunch.
Yeah.
I have a feeling I'll find them pretty quickly.
I
It's
think
a
so,
really
too.
interesting turn of phrase, leaking its way down, huh?
Yeah,
It is.
leaking.
Yes.
Yep.
There might be a lot of that tonight.
Bradford's also been on the board like all day and night, I think. So I think he's been chained to that board.
Yeah. How did Tanner got a holiday, a vacation day? Who the
I think
hell?
he was down. Wasn't he down at?
No, he's in Nashville.
Nashville, the producers, the regulars are just partying it up.
Boy, they
gentlemen,
bolted.
left and right.
Who gave Tanner a vacation day?
Does anybody want to work anymore? Huh? Does anybody want to work? Jamie off at 4, by the way. For
I'm still working.
I'm good.
Still working.
Bradford will be here. Dan will be here.
Yeah.
I will be here. Yeah. No. All right. So
Whatever,
the Steelers 20-16. They're 5-3.
How?
Dan, I mentioned this yesterday. They have been outgained
Every game.
including last night. Every single game.
How
They've
good
been
then is
outgained.
Mike Tomlin?
He gets the most out of his players
Yeah.
consistently, and then you hear how overrated he is. What the are you talking about? This guy gets more out of his talents than any coach in the entire league, including out of his an offense that's not good.
Hey, you got Matt Canada there. Stop it.
Yeah, they
you
brought
do.
him down
And
to
you-
the sidelines.
Yeah, he's on the sidelines now, sir.
That's the
Everything's
big
fixed.
difference. That's
Everything's
the
fixed for the
He gave him a
Steelers.
headset that doesn't
Yeah.
even work anymore.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
They did the Bruce Arians.
Yeah, the Bruce Arians.
Yep.
You can wear this. We're not going to have you plugged in, though.
Well, you saw it again last night. They went right down the field the first drive. They scored a touchdown, and then they went silent until the fourth quarter. This is the Steelers' offense this season. Defensively, keep us in the game, and then the fourth quarter we might try.
Third most points that they've scored this year in a game, 20. Think about that.
That's not great.
That's not great at all.
326 total yards. That's 32nd. And 166 rushing yards, 166. That's awful. That was the best game they've had offensively rushing.
Right, they're celebrating
166.
Yeah, I mean that's ugly. Kerry Davis right now, who is preparing for DeSmet playoff game tonight.
big,
boy.
big playoff game.
Go get him, Kerry
Hawks.
Davis, and go Hawks, baby.
Yep.
So Hazelwood Central is taking on DeSmet tonight, 7:00 in a playoff game. So
Smet's
DeSmet,
got a pretty good team.
yeah, apparently
I
DeSmet's
don't
like
want to see the
8-1.
line on that one.
Hey, you know what? It's fine. All right, our Kerry Davis is going to have those boys ready to go.
He'll have some up his sleeve.
No doubt, no doubt. I asked him if I can call plays yesterday. He respectfully told me no.
Has he not seen you coach flag football?
Apparently not. I had a high scoring offense,
Yeah.
and I was averaging damn near 30 points a game.
Yeah.
with a running clock.
It's pretty
I said
impressive.
clock, right?
Yep, you
Yep.
did.
Anthony, what's your preferred system? I'm trying to get up to speed here.
Yeah,
what are you
typically,
running?
Jamie was my co-offense coordinator this year. We typically run the oop-de-oop.
Yes.
Yeah, which is why I wanted to see the Blues also implement the
Yeah.
oop-de-oop.
I
Goes
mean,
without
it's-
saying, no fades.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
universal across
Darn
the
right.
board. You can run it in basketball, too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can run it basically
That's
in
how
any
it
sport.
works.
Yep. So the AFC North is suddenly interesting again, boys. You got The Ravens at 6-2. They're hosting Seattle this weekend. The Steelers at 5-3. Cleveland doesn't have an offense either, but their defense is outstanding. They're 4-3, and the Bengals are 4-3. But it kind of feels a little different than the Browns 4-3, and the Bengals host the Bills this weekend. In my opinion, the most interesting matchup, because the Eagles and Cowboys, fascinating in and of itself. It's an NFC East rivalry. But the Bengals and Bills, after what Cincinnati did to them in Buffalo last weekend, I think this is the best matchup of the weekend.
You don't like Kansas City, Miami?
You gotta love it, Dan, especially on a Sunday morning. I'm just saying this is a fascinating
Kansas
matchup.
City,
I
Miami?
forgot that. It's in the morning.
It's a morning
Germany.
game. Yep.
I'm less turned on now.
Why?
I don't like that Sunday morning German.
Don't you
stuff.
love waking up and you got football then, you got football at noon, you got football at 3:15, you got Sunday night football. What's wrong with you?
I don't know, Dan. You know
what you're
Get
talking
out of
about.
my face. Okay?
Jeez. That to me. So that's obviously an incredible matchup as well. Those two defensive lines are excellent. Miami's got an underrated defensive line, and the Chiefs defensively have been great all season. Chris Jones is the key, I think, to that game, because when you get pressure into his face, he's a different quarterback.
Mahomes
and all quarterbacks are.
Most quarterbacks are. You
Tua,
get that pressure in the guy's face, he's going to feel it.
Well, absolutely.
The key is Mahomes doesn't have the flu. That's the key in the game.
5 turnovers, limiting turnovers.
His hands have the flu?
Oh, stop.
Weekend?
You know, if you have the flu as a player, how tough it is. Don't even give me that, Mr. Tough Guy Hockey. Come on.
Dan, I spent a whole game throwing up into a trash can one time.
That's because of what happened the night before.
Maybe, but it doesn't matter, okay?
Yeah, I don't think Mahomes is doing that.
No.
But,
No, he's not. Have you seen that documentary?
No, he's locked in.
Down on that guy right
He's
now.
locked in at all times. But going back to that Steelers-Titans game, I did think Will Levis played well, though. I do. I think he played well.
Enough
Considering
to keep him in that spot.
no
and
doubt.
he's the future.
What I like about him is he's got big old Liberty bells. Like, he's not afraid to try and drop one in.
Yep.
Like, a lot of the young quarterbacks are tentative or scared to try and throw that pass that has to drop in behind the defender or in between two guys.
Right.
Because of the fact that it could be intercepted. Now, he made that mistake late in the game where he got that interception where they almost picked him off.
Yeah, twice before.
Right in that same area. So they obviously had a read on him that he was going to go there. But either way, I like that he's showed some confidence. Like, it's almost like, give me
he's
the
got
ball.
plenty of that.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was in, too, in his draft history or whatever it was. The book on him was like almost overly confident that some
Yeah,
people
but you got
thought
guys
that.
like that too, like Johnny
But I love it.
Manziel. Like, you know, just using as an example.
for sure.
The super confident, cocky, come into the NFL. All of a sudden, you're not so confident and cocky anymore.
Right.
Because it can humble you in a hurry. But I just like that he's still doing that. Like, he's throwing the ball in there. I like it.
I wonder if part of it was in the first game that he played in, that everybody thought in the stadium, anybody watching, was that, look, it's a rookie. All they're going to do is just run the ball. And then they did play action, and he's out there throwing it all over the field to where he's going to have to make that adjustment, kind of like what's going on with Love with Green Bay. There's tape on him now.
Yes.
I mean, you can figure him out, and it's going to take him to make the adjustment. That's what sports is all about. But I do wonder if that's the way it's going to go now from here on out.
I just like the fact that it's a short week. It's a tough opponent now that has, Dan, to your point, at least 4 quarters on him now. Forget the preseason. All I got 4 quarters, so you can game plan for him a little bit. And he stood in that pocket. You know, you talk about young guys that get hesitant. A lot of times they'll check down. A lot of them too will look at the rush, will stare at the rush, and then try to run. Levis never looked at the rush. He stood in there. In fact, to his own detriment at times.
One time he almost got absolutely decapitated.
He almost got decapitated, absolutely. But he
awesome.
stood in there. And when you stand in there like that, you allow your receivers to run. And Pittsburgh does not have a good secondary. And they're down Mika Fitzpatrick, and he stood in there and made a couple of big throws. Now, in the end, he lost, and he threw the pick at the end. But he had him right there in the red zone. So I was very impressed with Will Levis to some degree. And look, I know 4 touchdowns is eye-popping and all, but to some degree, I thought he was even more impressive last night based on the situation. Short week, short preparation than he was a week ago when Hopkins ripped down the one corner, A.J. Terrell, and the 1 touchdown. Another one was a defensive breakdown. Like, Levis had some layups last week. There was no layups last night, and I thought he still played pretty well. There you have it. We'll get into our picks a little bit later on, too. I want Dan's picks.
I'll get him.
Dan's been on fire. He's been telling me some of his plays that he likes. He's like, Anthony, what do you think about
those
this?
are for my friends.
I know they're for you, but I'm your friend.
I'm your friend.
And I want to hear your plays.
I'll give them to you.
They're excellent.
Yeah, you will.
Of course I will.
It's Fastlane on 101 ESPN. Let's get into this Mizzou matchup, boys.
Yeah,
I'm fired up. I'm fired up
ZOU.
for Mizzou and Georgia in between the hedges.
I expected Bradford to jump in on that. He didn't.
We don't have sound on the special teams like we did
Bradford
last time.
is the only one that actually went to Mizzou, too.
Worry not, it's coming up after the break.
Okay, I know. Your money went to Mizzou.
That's
I went
harsh.
to Mizzou.
For a weekend.
Yeah. And my money sure as hell went to Mizzou. I'll tell
money
you that.
definitely went to Mizzou as your eldest graduated there. So congratulations to Carson on that. All right, it's Fastlane on 101 ESPN. How does Mizzou pull off the upset tomorrow in Georgia? We'll get into it next on 101 ESPN.
Dirt Cheap is St. Louis's one-stop party shop. They have an incredible selection of all your favorite beers, wines, spirits. Staff is awesome, too. You walk in, if you're looking for something in particular, they're going to point it out to you, and maybe with a suggestion. So for me, I'm a bourbon guy, and obviously I love my Buffalo Trace, Angel's Envy, but every now and then I'll ask someone at Dirt Cheap, hey, what do you got? What's new? What's something that you like? And they point you in the direction that they think is great, and it's always something awesome. And then the deals are fantastic. They always have things marked down, so you're getting some of the best product with some of the best pricing. And if you want even better pricing and more deals, download the app. The Dirt Cheap app is available out there, and they're always offering more discount suggestions, and they've got certain clubs that you can be a part of, like the VIP Blues Club, and that gives you more discounts, free offers, giveaways, all sorts of stuff. And each location is equipped with a drive-thru. So you can get on the app, you can order whatever you need, and drive up and drive away. It's fantastic. So please visit my friends over at Dirt Cheap. Tell them Jamie Rivers sent you in. And remember, have fun, but be careful out there.
101 ESPN Sports Center.
MU makes its way to Athens. Good afternoon. I'm Bradford Bruns, and this Sports Center update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Nearly 2 weeks have elapsed since Missouri's last contest, a homecoming rout of South Carolina with number 2 Georgia on the slate tomorrow. Very few would expect the same sort of result at Sanford Stadium. Gabe DeArmond of PowerMizzou.com joined the balloon party earlier and gave an interesting take on the highly anticipated matchup.
The goal is to win the game. The goal is not, hey, let's earn some respect. Let's put up a fight. Let's be in it late. The goal is to win. And if in attempting to win, that means you lose 45-10, so be it.
The full conversation with Tim McKernan is up on 101ESPN.com. Hockey, the Blues host New Jersey at 7. Alex Ferrario and Joe Vitale bringing you the preliminary festivities at 6 as St. Louis aims to halt a 2-game slide. This Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
You're in the Fast Lane, coming to you live from the Car Shield Studio on 101 ESPN.
Mizzou, Georgia, in between the hedges tomorrow. Should be fantastic. So how does Mizzou pull off the upset? That's the question, right? 15.5-point dogs to the dogs.
No pun intended.
Oh, boy, Anthony. Woof.
What do you guys think? What's the route? What's the route, Dan, for Mizzou to pull off the upset?
Turnovers and an early start. I think if you get off to a quick start, it shows, okay, we can play with these guys. And the other thing I look at, you got to find a way to get to their QB. And their QB, when he has time, he is tearing up defenses right now. No Brock Bowers, no problem. He was able to spread the football around last week. And I think the one thing about Georgia, they've had an extra day to practice where they normally don't do that. They were down by 10 against Mizzou last year, came back to win that game. They're going to be ready. And when it's a game that means something, that is important, that is not just some cupcake, which most people around the country are saying, this isn't a cupcake. This is a chance to improve your resume for the college football playoff. Georgia's ready. It's going to be a good game, but I think Georgia could come out guns a-blazing tomorrow, which is not good news for Mizzou fans.
No, not at all.
I think for Mizzou to be successful, as difficult as it's going to be, look, they can throw the football, but I think they actually have to establish some kind of a running game. They have to get Georgia committed to a little bit of the running game, to respect it at least. And then you can air it out a little bit to try and narrow the gap between the two teams, the talent of the two teams. But
if you run too, it's time management. You keep your team on the field. You keep your offense on the field.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. I don't want to see the Georgia offense because they could go any direction. So if you run the ball, you're going to keep the clock moving, and it's at least somewhat a time possession to win the game.
The hard part, though, is going to be actually running the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what in my opinion, that's what they have to try and be successful at. But that might be the most difficult thing that they have to do that day.
Jamie makes a great point insofar as what are you going to see from Cody Schrader, though, against an upper echelon defense? It's different when you're talking about going off for almost 200 yards, 20-plus carries against South Carolina. Now, I do think it works in Mizzou's favor to have had the bye week, too. Schrader gets to rest up a bit, that quadriceps issue. Last game, we actually saw Mizzou trend in a different direction, though, in terms of giving him virtually every carry. Whereas it was a timeshare earlier in the season between Schrader and Pete, he became that bell cow back. Are we going to see the same thing tomorrow? You would like to think so, especially given the time off. But Dan, as far as actually Georgia, of course, having had some additional time to work through to game plan for Mizzou, I think it can cut both directions here because it's intriguing to see what Kirby Moore, offensively speaking, from perspective of being able to plan as well for Mizzou is able to do, for that offense as far as Kirby Moore. But it's going to be absolutely imperative for Mizzou to somehow, some way, as you said as well, Dan, flip the field position at least occasionally. This defense has been better, markedly better in recent weeks, but still you haven't seen the influx of turnovers created. They have to get them.
Boys, 25 straight wins. They've won 41 of 42. Who are we kidding?
They're
15
they're
and a
due
half
for
with
a
the line.
loss.
The due factor's coming in on this.
Yeah. Here's the thing.
You got to believe, Dan. That's all.
I
You do have
believe.
to believe, yeah. At some point, you have to take control of the game, and I know that's easier said than done, but it is the truth. Now, how do you do that? You want to play good defense, or you want to play better defense? Play less defense.
And that's my point.
Play less defense.
And find
Time
a way.
of possession is critical. Flipping the field position is critical. You get to the 50, and it's a 4th and 3.
Go for it.
Don't.
You don't think so?
Hem them.
You think so?
Keep pushing in bad field position.
I think field position winds up being critical for Mizzou. I realize the mindset should be like, well, stay aggressive. I would hem them in, force them to go the length of the field consistently, and then they're starting to play the clock too. And then all of a sudden, the fourth quarter, it's a one-possession game, and you give yourself a shot. I don't think that's cautious or chicken bleep, a chicken bleep style of football. I think it's taking control of the game when you have your opportunities.
What do you think Luther Burden does tomorrow? I can't wait. That's the one thing I cannot wait to watch.
Are we going sideways like we did in the first two games, or are we going vertical like we've done since Kansas State?
Time.
That's the other thing. Georgia, for as good as Georgia is, and defensively they're excellent. Their pass rush is merely okay. This is not a ferocious pass rush. But can Mizzou hold up?
Screen game, some opportunities for you in the flat could very well be there. In the event that you're actually able to matriculate the ball down the field and get into the red zone, Theo Weiss has been coming on more and more in recent games, in recent weeks. He gives you a big target there inside the 20. Nice catch radius. I am intrigued to see exactly how they utilize Burden because, Anthony, you can draw a little bit of a parallel to, okay, how did Mizzou approach as far as the all-out mentality against Kentucky? That was a different opportunity on the road. And in that game, Luther Burden was essentially a non-factor. However, you need to force feed him the ball early. If I'm going down in that instance, I'm going down with my very best playmaker, getting the ball in his hands as much as possible.
I think offensively, they'll be able to move the ball. I'm a little bit more worried about the challenge for
You
Mizzou
think they're going to be able to move the ball?
I think look, Mizzou's strength is their offense right now. Their defense, they got shredded in the middle of the field against LSU. That was the problem. If you saw the Kentucky game, what were they doing? They were forcing Kentucky to throw outside the numbers. Their corners are good. Their linebackers, I realize they're athletic, and but I think when you're matching up against Georgia, you have a mismatch. If they give Georgia the middle of the field, they're cooked. They're done. They got a similar game plan. Get Georgia to try to throw outside the numbers, and of course, you better win on first down because if they're getting 6-7 a pop on you, then forget it. You got to stay out of those situations.
Do they cover? Does Mizzou cover 15 and a half?
I think Mizzou gives them a game, so I say yes.
I think they do too, but Vegas always knows something. For the
Don't
line,
they always? It's
for the line to
unbelievable.
be 15 and a half, I'm sitting there going, I think Mizzou's definitely going to, that's no problem. That Mizzou will be better than that. But then I'm like, but why do they have that number? If it's so obvious, what am I missing?
Isn't it something as simple, too, that Georgia is so good and they seem to be able when they have to, and from a player's perspective, it doesn't. At some point, it catches up with you. But when you have to turn it on, they turn it on. And when you look at their game against Florida, they had a little issue, and then when they needed to turn it on, it was like, watch out. And there's something to it.
That was like when I used to play with the Red Wings. That was
Absolutely.
It wasn't me. It was the guys that we had in the locker room. We were first place. We won the league that year, but we come in after the second period and somebody just say, all right, enough screwing around. All right, let's go win this one.
Yeah, to be that good.
All right, we spotted him too. We're not losing tonight. We're not losing. We're not losing in L.A. Let's go. Let's get this one back. And we go back and just guys would put the game together and win by 2 goals.
It is interesting, too. You were just talking about how Vegas knows. It opened up at 18.5. Now it's down to 15.5. It's just simple,
That's because too many people bought in.
With
right
Mizzou?
away. Too many people went Mizzou probably right away.
Absolutely.
I was talking to Dan before this. The key is going to be today to see if the line moves. And the reason for that is sports books increase their limits on Fridays. They protect themselves Monday through Thursday. But on Friday, they open up the limits. So guys that know what they're doing will bet on Friday. This notion of like the sharps bet early in the week it's a misnomer.
Bunk. That's right.
They will bet on Friday when the limits go up. So if this line drops another point, I would think that the Sharps would be on Mizzou. That doesn't mean they're going to cover. It just means that they're on them. If the line stays at 15.5 after tonight, Sharps may be off of it. Mm-hmm. And you're just looking at public money. Because Mizzou, I think, will probably see a lot of public money because people are going to look at a 7-1 team that beat Kentucky, that nearly beat LSU,
K-State,
that beat Kansas State, and say Georgia hasn't looked that great. I'll take the 15.5.
Has given up 3 points in the last 2 games.
They've been great. They've been great.
You know how hard that is to do with the offenses that are run today?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, that K-State, it was, for a second there, it looked like that K-State win was going to look worse because they went on the road and lost to, was it Oregon State or Oklahoma? It was Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State, which
on a Friday night.
Totally turned it around,
but
too.
OK State's about to give Oklahoma a game tomorrow in Bedlam. I mean, that Oklahoma State has turned it around.
And they're probably, at home, too.
Yeah.
Probably not a more dangerous running back in the nation right now than Gordon.
They look good.
For OK State.
And Oklahoma's a wounded animal after losing to all teams Kansas. So it's a fascinating schedule. We will get into the college football Week 10 primer in the 3 o'clock hour, but transition back to the Blues here. Blues Devils pregame tonight. Jamie talked a little bit about the power play, but does the power play basically, is that the special teams unit that can turn around the season quickly for the Blues? We'll get into that next on 101 ESPN. Yeah. What are you guys doing? All right, it's a Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. Jamie Rivers, Sam McLaughlin, Anthony Stalter. We don't know if these cameras are on during the break. I was telling the guys, I'm like, pretty sure I've got a hernia. And then I started to show Jamie. Jamie was looking. And
I watched from afar. Showing.
No, I wasn't showing
Interesting.
you. It was just, I was doing the
area of where the problem was.
Exactly.
Correct.
Yep. So, if you saw it on the Air Alliance Team YouTube channel, you're welcome.
They don't mind. They know.
Yep.
A lot of people pulling for you in this thing.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate you. Yep. Blues Devils tonight, pregame right here on 101 ESPN starting at 6 o'clock. Jamie will be with us until 4 o'clock. Dan, you just heard him laughing. Dan McLaughlin will be with us the entire show. So my question would be, guys, if the Blues, if all they do is fix the power play, how different does this team look? I'm not saying they don't have other issues. I'm just saying if they merely fix one of the problems they have, that being the power play, how different is this team?
Well, I think it's a big difference maker. There's so many power plays now over the course of a game that if you can score, one every 5 power plays, you give yourself a chance to win the game. How many tight games have the Blues been in this year? Just a couple of them that weren't really tight games. So imagine the other night in Colorado, they're down by a goal to start the third period. They have a power play. If they score a goal on that power play, now they're tied, and maybe the rest of the game looks different. And I know there's a lot of if, but this power play has got 1 goal this season. 1 goal in 8 games. It's not good enough. Not for the guys that you have. I understand the power play is struggling, but you have guys that, yes, you don't have Nathan McKinnon, Connor McDavid, or Austin Matthews, but you have guys who can put some points up.
Is it as simple, by the way, right now to say, look, your top players, Thomas, Kyrou, and I know this is a simplification of this thing, but, they've got, a goal apiece, whatever it is.
Thomas has 2, Kyrou
has 1. 1. But you look at the Buchnevich, some of the others. I mean, they're just not scoring. Is it as simple as your guys that you're paying and your top guys that you're leaning on? If they don't produce, they don't have other areas to lean on right now to pick them up. And so, if those 2 guys don't produce, it's going to be a long season.
Yeah, and you're 100% right. Those guys are paid to produce as well. And again, I don't like to equate the paycheck to the production, but this is where we're at because you have 2 young players. For the only reason that they got the money and the term that they got is because they've showed that they can be a point-a-game player already in their young careers. So you're looking 2 and 3 years down the road. Will they be 95 to 100 points or 100 points plus players? You hope. Right now, Robert Thomas he's not having a bad season. He's got 6 points in 8 games. So is it the steps that you'd like him to take? No, you'd like him to have about 10 to 12 points in 8 games. But going back to your original comment the original question on all this is if the power play is successful. Well, if the power play is successful, it means that guys like Thomas and Kyrou and Buchnevich are all getting points.
I'd throw Shin in there, too.
Shinner's having a rough start to this season. He's doing all the little things right. He's playing hard. He's playing good defense. He's being a great captain. But the puck hasn't found the back of the net for him. Hasn't found the back of the net for Kevin Hayes. Like a lot of guys right now are not producing the way they'd like to. But it hurts even more when you have your 2 top guys that are supposed to be your automatic point producers that they're not filling the net either. So it's tough. Right now for the Blues, creating any kind of offense has been a bit of a struggle for them. And you'd think that when you get on the power play, that's an easier way to provide offense. It just hasn't been. If I'm Craig Berube, and this is just me and my own stupid opinion here in the fast lane, I'd split those guys up on the power play. I don't like the look of it's just like I didn't like the Tarasenko look when he was out there and he would play the half wall on his strong side. He was never a one-timer threat. When the puck went to him, you knew exactly what was going to happen from there. And the same is happening now with Kyrou and Thomas. When they end up on the half wall on their strong side, the puck comes to them. By the time they can load a shot or get ready to make a play, the defense has a chance to move and can change and structure their defense to stop it. I would move one of those guys into the bumper position in the middle of the ice. Kyrou, I'd put him right in the middle of the ice and just tell him to track the puck, and then you're looking for the one-timer from a left-handed shot. I'd move Braden Shen, or I know Jacob Verana hasn't really earned a lot this season, but he is a guy that will load up the one-timer nonstop. And then when they overcommit to the one-timer, that's when you have the nice little one touch to the middle, and a guy like Kyrou then has a one-timer from the slot.
Is Verana Mike Hoffman?
Did you just say that? Okay, so
I'm talking about from a position standpoint,
I have to show you something.
and a player standpoint.
I have to show you something. So this was yesterday at 11:35. BK and Ferrario were on their show, and they were talking about Jacob Verana. And they're wondering, what is he? What is he? So at 11:35, can you tell me what I wrote to BK and Ferrario?
I'd like to see your. Oh,
Yeah,
no.
no, the other one.
My bad. Yeah, Verana equals Mike Hoffman.
Verana equals Mike Hoffman.
Wow.
So what do you do then?
The way you're just
Use him
describing.
then.
Yeah, the way that you just described that's what they did with Hoffman. Is like, okay, hey, this is kind of the player he is. Let's use him on the power play. And
To me,
Go
I
from
would
there.
have. I don't know if I would have sat him. I get why they did
Well,
it, but
there's
I mean,
a lot more behind it, Danny.
Yeah.
When a coach makes a decision
Oh,
like
I
that.
get it.
And it's
Yeah.
not that he's a bad guy. He's not a bad teammate. None of those things. So I don't want to be
Don't read into it too much.
nefarious.
Yeah.
Boy, there's something. No, but he's
message
not,
being sent in
not
many
moving
levels.
his feet enough.
Yeah.
Waiting for his teammates to do the work for him and then get him the puck so he can shoot the puck. Not that he's telling them that. His actions are telling other people that.
Yeah.
And so you need him with the way he skates and the speed that he has and the skill that he has. You want him to be on his horse. You want him to be going, because if he is, last year we saw a couple of times that this guy can be a difference maker. So when you have a guy that can actually do that, and you need offense, and your team is desperately seeking more goals, you want that guy's butt to get in gear. So I think that's why he got sat the 2 games. And, coming back against Colorado, that's a tough matchup. So we'll see, where that leads. But I would put him on that power play and just tell him, every time the puck comes to you, shoot the puck.
Yeah.
Shoot it. And if the guy's in the way, pass it to the other guy. And he shoots it. Really,
simplify.
dumb it down here.
Tonight, you got the pregame show right here on 101 ESPN starting at 6 o'clock, right after us here in the Fast Lane. Blues and Devils. The puck will drop right around 7 o'clock, 7:05, something like that. And you can listen to all the coverage right here on 101 ESPN. So, Jamie, you had said during one of the breaks that somebody had projections for the starting pitchers in terms of free agency.
Yeah.
Let's get into that next, because there's some names there and some numbers that, some of them fall into what we would call the Cardinals range, and then others where it's nope, and chance the Cardinals sign these guys. Yeah.
You don't believe?
Nope.
Okay.
We'll get into that next on 101 ESPN.
Jamie Rivers here, and I want to talk to you about aftermarket accessories for your vehicle. Head over to Pure Performance, your one-stop shop for all aftermarket modifications. Listen, they're known for the incredible work that they do over there. And if you have a Jeep, any year, make, or model, they have got everything that you want for that Jeep or that new Bronco. I just saw a Bronco last week over at Pure Performance. They rolled it out of the back, and I was like, oh my goodness, I could not believe what they had done to that Bronco. It's pretty incredible. But don't forget, too, it's not just those vehicles. You got an SUV, you got a car, a minivan, they've got you covered there, and it's all tires and wheels. So it's not just your oversized tires or your off-road packages. No, they do everyday tires over there at Pure Performance, and they're also a full-service shop. So if you have a vehicle in there and you need anything else done or looked at while it's in the back, they certainly have you covered there. So please head over to their 25,000 square foot facility. When you walk in, ask for Shelby. Tell her that Jamie Rivers sent you in. And if you can't get there in person, get there online at pureperformance.com. That's pure, P-U-R, performance.com.
what you want to hear. Sports. This is the Fast Lane, broadcasting live from the Car Shield studio on 101 ESPN.
It's the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. 3 o'clock. Your time check is brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Dan McLaughlin, Jamie Rivers, Anthony Stalter. Jamie's with us for the next hour. So, speaking of Jamie, you had found an article that had the projections for the free agent starting pitchers. They're about to hit the market.
Yeah.
Some of the numbers are high. Some of the numbers are reasonable-ish. But which ones make sense for the Cardinals?
So this was John Heyman put a piece out with the New York Times.
Oh, and, Johnny Heyman.
Yeah, he's breaking it down here. So do we want to play a game?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, always.
Like pick a pitcher and tell me what you'd pay and tell me.
I'm in. Dan, you in?
Oh, I'm in.
Dan?
Okay. I'm always in.
All right, who wants
Talking
to go first?
baseball, I'm in.
All right, well, why don't we start off with Aaron Nola?
Aaron Nola. All right. They have him here listed as baseball's most reliable starter, tied with Garrett Cole and Zach Wheeler. So here we go. What do you guys think term-wise? How many years and how much?
I would say 6 years for term.
Okay.
I'm with you on that.
And between 30 and 35 mil.
You think that high?
Yeah.
I'm thinking 25.
You're thinking 25. So
Yep.
do you want to meet in the middle, 30?
Yeah, I could do that.
6 years, 30 mil for Aaron Nola.
Okay, so they asked 3 experts, what they thought of it, and it came down to basically 2 options. It was $175 million, and that was over 5 years. So $35 million a year.
For a 5-year deal.
For a 5-year deal. Or we had $168 million for 6 years, which was $28 million.
I would rather go higher for less. And that's on most free agents, especially when you're 30-something years old.
Even if you know the back end of the deal is going to be ugly.
Yeah.
They're talking about after last season, the way that things went, they're talking about winning now. I mean, they're not used to losing. The DeWitts aren't used to losing. I mean, the first season that they were here, they struggled, and then they went out and got Gary Gaetti, Andy Bennis, Ron Gant. I mean, those at that time, those were big names, and they go in 96, and they're up 3-1 against the Braves and wind up losing in the NLCS. But they don't stick around and say, well, this is acceptable. I truly believe that. Now, there are things that you can debate in terms of how they spent their money, and that's why this is such an important offseason. But they're going to spend money. And it's not only, I think people are looking at this the wrong way. And I know you're going to get more guys that we're going to talk about, but you got to spend money on that bullpen. That bullpen is as much as you got to spend on your rotation. I'm not talking about in terms of dollar signs, but I'm talking about in terms of bodies.
Investment.
You got to bring some people in to correct that bullpen, too.
We talked about that yesterday. Anthony and I were talking about, it's the 5 and dive in today's baseball league. And so that means you still have 4 innings to cover almost every game, which means you got to have some guys who can close out the game for you.
They were 24th in ERA. They were 29th in strikeout rate, talking about the bullpen. And what's the game right now? Strikeouts, especially the latter innings. You got to have power pitching, and you got to shut the opposition down.
So to put a bow on Aaron Nola, do you think the Cardinals would have an appetite to go $35 million a year for 5 years?
No, they wouldn't have an appetite, but I bet they do.
I would do it. Yeah, I think they would do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I do. Yeah.
Might make them puke, but they're going to probably do
Who
it.
else are we looking at here?
Blake Snell will be the next one.
He's literally in the same ballpark. 185 for 5 years. So
right.
a little bit more for Blake Snell.
Okay.
Jordan Montgomery, he helped his cause.
Yes.
Tell you that much. They're looking at $120 million over 5 years now.
So what would that be? 26
Well, Anthony.
or so?
Right around 26, 27.
24.
I was going to estimate about 25 for him. I thought before his season he was in that 18 to 20 range.
And we're talking about
Jordan Montgomery.
Yeah.
And then after what he did, he'll get close to 25.
So, guys,
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
what if I told you that I could get you a number 2-ish pitcher for $22 million a year for 3 years?
In.
That's what they're projecting for Sonny Gray. $66 million for 3 years.
3 years is what he's going to get,
That's
I would imagine. But, what's funny, though, is that when you give a guy 3 years, and he's going to have competitors, somebody is going to step up and say, we'll give you the extra year. Maybe for a little less, but they're going to give him the extra year.
That's what the Cardinals did for Fowler.
Exactly.
Unfortunately.
And that's how you have to get over the top with some of these guys.
Yeah.
So based on that, you'd be looking at $58 million-ish if the Cardinals wanted to sign both Aaron Nola and Sonny Gray.
What do you guys think of Snell, though? What if Snell's a fallback or he might be their number one?
Okay, so take your pick. Pick your poison, whether it's Snell or Nola. That's not all you can go get. You need more if you're the Cardinals.
Yeah. How about Josh Hader?
Josh Hader. He's not on here because he's going to be a starter
reliever.
I know, but I'm thinking about if I'm allocating dollars here, and I know you're just going starters, but that would probably dip into my starters allotment for money. I bet Hader gets $20 million a year. And you're talking about a reliever. He's hurt his
cause a little bit.
He wasn't as effective, and he's somewhat on the decline. But he's still
$20 million for Hader.
I could see that happening.
I don't know.
I don't know if I do that,
guys.
I agree. Dan, I completely agree about the bullpen. I don't know if I'm giving $20 million to a reliever though. I think that's bad. I think that's chasing bad money.
But Gallegos had a down year. You can't rely on Helsley to pitch 3 times out of the week.
Yeah.
You're going to need somebody in the back end of games to help you out.
I'd almost be more inclined, guys, to go with the internal options in the bullpen like they've done before. You brought this up the other day. Waino, Lance Lynn, that route, I'd be okay with that if that's the internal option. If, of course, you get me 3 starters this offseason.
So if we go back to the starters, because a couple other things are interesting, and I want to get these in. One is the number 2 prospect or available person on this list is Yamamoto. Mm-hmm. So he's projected to make $210 million over 5 years.
I'd take a hard look at that.
No, $210 million over 7 years.
Yeah, I feel more comfortable about that potentially than I would about Nola.
Do you though? He's completely unproven.
He is.
That's a big friggin' price tag for a guy who's never stepped on the bump.
What's the money? I missed it.
210 over 7.
He's a 5-time All-Star, 3-time ERA champ, 2-time Triple Crown champion in the MPB. In mid-90s fastball, so you know what you're going to get. He's got swing and miss stuff. He's got more than that. He throws, I think, a splitter. He's got a curve. He's got a slider. He's got a fastball, and he's not even 25 years old or just turned 25.
No, I'm in. Okay.
I get
That's
it.
why.
Guys, I understand all the upside, but I also look at it as the unknown, too.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the question.
Yeah.
Would you rather roll the dice on an unknown that's 24, but he did it all that in the other league, in a completely different league, or roll the dice on a known in Nola, who did not have a great second half, and then was inconsistent in the postseason.
Nola doesn't get hurt either. I think he's been on the IL one time since 2018. That's something I'd look at.
He's been very durable.
Yeah, he's durable. The Cardinals, though, have had success with Seung-Hwan Oh. They had success with Kim.
Yeah.
I mean, they are going to vet this thing through and through. And if other teams and other projections are going this high and everybody's so high on them, it's not just the Cardinals that would be high on them. I think I'd feel comfortable doing it. Again, it's an unknown.
Yeah.
But, man, what a bargain that could be if you get them for 7 years. I say bargain. 7 years, 210.
It's not our money, Dan.
Exactly. I'm all about it.
It's all relative.
I mean, that could be a hell of a bargain.
So the last one I wanted to throw at you guys, there's a couple more we can revisit, but I wouldn't say the last one. One that just kind of evolved today is the Dodgers declined the option on Lance Lynn. So they told him to get to stepping. Now, he did give up
55 home runs, I think.
An amazing amount of home runs last year. But I wonder if he's your pitcher you try and get on the cheap.
I think you get a couple guys like that. Bounce back 1-year deals.
The guy I keep throwing out there that I would be interested in a 1-year deal is Luis Severino. He was the ace of the Yankees 4 seasons ago until injuries added up. Look, if you're bringing in a guy on a 1-year deal, it's a risk in that you don't know if he's going to get hurt again, he's going to be terrible, but it's a 1-year deal. Mm-hmm. And I'd rather roll the dice on a Luis Severino than maybe a Lance Lynn.
What about Giolito?
Giolito I'd be interested in, too. Do you think he only gets
on this list?
What do they got for him, Jamie? Because I don't think he gets I think he gets a multi-year contract.
$51 million over 3 years or $80 over 4 years.
How about Kenta Maeda?
I'm in on Kenta Maeda. When he came back, he was hurt. He missed the first two and a half months of the season. But when he came back, he was excellent.
How about Tyler Malley? Interested in him?
Less so than I am in Kenta Maeda and Luis Severino.
I mean, there's all names out there that you can get. I mean,
what about like a James Paxton?
How about Frankie Montas? That's another one, bounce back year.
Here's where
needs it.
Here's where my thought from a couple of days ago really kicks in. Let's say you go get an Aaron Nola or a Blake Snell, either or.
Or a Yamamoto.
Or a Yamamoto. And then for $5 million, you pick up Trevor Bauer. And then you can add a Sonny Gray still.
Do you guys think there's a team that's going to take
I'm in.
Let me ask you this, though.
Seriously.
Do you think there's a team that takes a flyer on Trevor Bauer?
Yes.
I would. After everything that's
so.
happened and all the stuff that's actually come out to where he himself proved and put it out there all over social media.
Yeah.
Listen, what he does with his personal life, whether you agree with what he does consensually or not with girls or his friends, it's not illegal. It wasn't. He didn't get charged. Didn't even have to pay the restitution. None of that. So you have a guy that was an ace. He was.
Oh, he was a stud.
And now he's looking to reclaim his career, his life, for that matter. So you would have to anticipate that he's going to come in and give you his absolute best to shove it where on the entire baseball world. I would sit down and talk to him. I'd offer him a $5 million deal with a whole ton of incentives to get him up to maybe 10, 15 million if he hits all these insane, benchmarks throughout the season. But think about that. You get a Nola and a Bauer, and then you could go to Lance Lynn or a Sonny Gray or a Kyle Gibson on top of that with Michaelis, with Matz, with internal options. All of a sudden you're looking at it and go, you know what? This thing just turned around.
Oh, it would turn around if you get Bauer. I'm just saying, I don't know what the appetite would be for a team to engage with that, or if there's future allegations that come out. Those
well, you
are
have
things.
to do your homework.
Oh, you got to vet it, man.
But if you're the DeWitts, and so I said this to Anthony the other day, I said, if you're the DeWitts and you're the Cardinals baseball organization, that means everybody under the umbrella. I understand that this is an outlier for you as an organization. What you have represented over the years, this is an outlier. But you bring him into the fold, and if he falls in line, it helps your baseball team tremendously. But for Trevor Bauer, if I'm his agent, his family, his representatives, I'm saying, if you get the blessing of the Cardinals, that is going to absolutely help your career because they're known to have a good reputation with players. And so if you keep your ish together and do what you're supposed to do, this could really propel you again.
I think, too, let's just say if you put that aside, you'd have to go to him and say, this is a team. This is not your YouTube page. Yeah. This is not your social media outlet.
Right.
You're here to pitch.
Yeah.
And that goes into what you're talking about, doing the full vet and 100%. The expectations of what you want as him coming to your organization.
And maybe you sign a unique contract with Trevor Bauer. Maybe there's a baseball contract, and then maybe there's a personal contract that is attached to it. You do it for all these other things, right? So, Albert has his personal contract on the side for what he was going to do for the team after. Maybe your side contract with Trevor Bauer is, hey, from the months of whatever, October till we start spring training, YouTube page, get after it. Once you arrive at pitchers and catchers arrive at spring training, YouTube page, social media, all that, gone.
Yeah.
So now you want to do your own thing in your own time, we're here for it. We'll support you, but not when you're on our time.
I think it's going to be fascinating. The GM meetings are on Tuesday. So that's when the groundwork is laid with these trades and various things. I think the Cardinals are going to be tremendously active on the trade front, too, as another way to get in pitching. So you may, we talk about the money to go spend, and I think they will spend maybe to an uncomfortable level for them. But I also think them bringing in existing contracts and how that factors into what they're doing, I think that's something you have to consider as well, which bleeds into how much you want to spend off-season wise. And does that take you then out of some of these top guys that we're talking about? I don't think it will, but it is something to think about.
That's Dave McLaughlin, Jamie Rivers, Anthony Stalter. It's the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. Looking at this slate in college football, I think that this might be the most pivotal week to date when you're looking at how things could impact the college football rankings. And we'll certainly take a look, another look at the Mizzou and Georgia game, too. Next in the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN.
back to it. The Fast Lane on 101 ESPN.
It's the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. I think this is perhaps the best slate of college football games thus far this year. It's so impactful.
ever?
This season. Yeah, not never.
I got excited there.
I'd have to go back and look, really take a deep dive.
You didn't go look?
No, I'll do that tonight, though. And?
It's about third.
Okay, fair enough.
All time.
Third
This
all
is a
time.
hell of a schedule this weekend,
It
though.
is.
I love
Third
it.
all time, Jamie.
And I'll take a look at it later, too. Maybe
There you
I'll
go.
even call you.
Please.
So I can help my friends with what they
absolutely.
do. Yeah.
Yeah. Georgia, Mizzou. Dan, we talked about this earlier. Dan, you give Mizzou no shot.
I didn't say no shot.
I mean, you kind of did.
Maybe a little bit.
You said it with your eyes, Dan. You said it with your eyes.
Georgia's been disrespected. They have the number 2 ranking in the college football playoff. They're going to come out and be ready for Mizzou.
They might be hungry.
You know,
After
they practice
being-
an extra day. I don't know. It's
2? Really? Watch this.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I think that this Mizzou team can hang. They have a couple of things here. 1, they don't turn the ball over. 2, they throw vertically. 3, I do think their special teams can keep them in it too if they play the field possession game. If Eli Drinkwitz goes out there,
You just said
and
everything that has to go right for them.
Literally.
I mean, 100%.
Well, yeah. Look, we are talking about 15.5 point dogs.
That's true.
So,
That's
you know,
true.
I mean, I'm not
15 and a half.
I mean, that's a lot of things that got to go right.
I think everybody knows what Mizzou is up against tomorrow. What I don't want to see, though, is what I think a lot of people want is like Eli Drinkwitz to go, like balls to the wall aggressive. I don't think that's the play. I think that plays into Georgia's hands, and then you're going to be down 37-0 in the second quarter because you're going for it on fourth.
You know, it's something
every
that's
damn
simple.
play.
Go score first if you're Mizzou. Just
Would
say,
be-
hey,
that would
we're
be a
here.
very good idea.
Put a little
Yeah.
pressure on Georgia, and the confidence that it gives your team to say, yeah, they're number 2 in the country, but we're on their turf and we just scored first. That to me is a factor. I really believe that.
Anthony, along those same lines, one aspect we haven't detailed quite as much. If Mizzou reverts to what it did early in the season, especially with the offensive line, the self-inflicted wounds, imagine that environment. You go between the hedges. If you have a flurry of penalties over, game over before it even really gets started. That's something. And the offensive line has been better.
Yeah.
But again, as far as establishing the run, establishing the point of attack, you're not going to be able to do it in the same way versus Georgia. But can you avoid the penalties? That's the question.
This is a bit of a hot take, but I think within the first quarter, we're going to know what sort of Mizzou team we got. If they're throwing sideways, and they've got a bunch of offensive line infractions, they're done. They're going to be toast. The game won't be competitive.
Well, you mentioned them going vertical. Remember how they started at and the end of last year. Now, part of that may have been the point of Brady Cook and injury-wise and what happened earlier this season, but they do go vertical. And if they try to do that with Burden, which I hope they do, and I want to see it, I want to see Luther Burden have a monster game. That would be fun. As a fan, that would be fun.
There's only one way he has a monster game, is if he can get the football. Because if the quarterback is completely under duress the entire game and he can't get clean looks and get the ball out of his hands, then Luther Burden doesn't have a big game.
Yeah, I
bottom
agree.
line.
Find ways to get him the ball.
Yeah, no, it's
Find
fine.
different ways. I don't
you
care
can-
how.
you can use
Because
a
that's the
screen
only way you're
pass
going to win.
and dump it into the flat a whole bunch of times.
think
But I just
he's
don't
gotta
know if
make
that's-
plays, man.
I don't know if that's the best way.
I think they hang if it's low scoring. I do.
Yeah, I think they do too.
What I mean by that is if it's that type of game. If it's a shootout, I think Mizzou eventually starts to run into some 3 and outs, and then they got that defense on the field too much, and then you're knocked out.
And up front, don't discount. This is the sort of game, this is the sort of performance that a Darius Robinson can put on tape for the next level talent evaluators. You want to be a potential first, second round pick, you have to figure out a way to penetrate and get into the backfield in this environment.
Yeah, that's true. Step up. All right, so here's the other matchups that could have playoff implications for tomorrow. Let's start off in Tuscaloosa.
Oh, baby.
Number 8, Alabama, hosting number 14, LSU.
Kerry Davis was talking about how he could see LSU
14
winning
LSU,
this
excuse me.
game.
The line's only 3.
Oh, I could see LSU winning this game. Their QB is a different guy.
Daniels is incredible.
He is awesome.
Alabama has been a different version of itself, literally half to half.
But they're getting better.
They are, depending on what half it is.
Yeah.
Like the first half against Tennessee, I'm like this to Tennessee. Alabama has no business being in the top 10 if you watch that first half against Tennessee. The second half, you're like, oh, that's a national championship contender. Like that's how drastic it has been with Alabama this year.
The winner,
first
by the
half
way,
against Arkansas, not Arkansas.
No, Arkansas at home in Tuscaloosa.
First half they look great. Second half they couldn't move the ball.
Right.
When you talk about Milroe, it's either interception or sack or touchdown. And that is it, man. So it's a different Alabama team than we have seen. But we've seen LSU too, and we know
they're all over the place.
We know that the athleticism that they have, but I don't think that defense can slow down.
No.
Bam, if they get going.
I agree with that. And the winner of this is in the driver's seat for the SEC West.
Mm-hmm.
And it keeps you alive. 2 one-loss teams going at it tomorrow. Keeps you alive for the college football playoff and then going into the SEC championship, too.
No doubt.
Yep.
The other interesting game is number 5 Washington at number 20 USC. So 2 weeks ago, I would have said Washington's going to hang 50 on USC. No questions asked. Let's go Michael Penix Jr. The last 2 weeks, nobody's seen it because nobody has the Pac-12 network, but Washington should have lost to Arizona State, and Stanford hung with them for no damn reason. Washington has looked like a different team since that win over Oregon. USC couldn't stop a nosebleed, but they also have Caleb Williams and like nothing to play for now. They got house money because the college football playoff is done for USC. So this is going to...
Still have a chance at the Pac-12, though.
Still have a chance at the Pac-12, and you got to win this one.
Celebrate that.
Certainly, because it's the last Pac-12.
That's the last time you got
How many points?
Last one.
How many points did it get scored in that game? I think so, too.
What is the line on this?
At last check, it was 76 and a half.
Well,
the over-under? Yeah, over-under.
It's gone up. It's 77 and a half right now.
And Washington's laying only a field goal, which feels like a trap.
It does.
That feels like a trap. That and Alabama feel like a trap. Like, odds makers are saying, come here.
Come on in.
Come here.
Yep.
Water's warm.
Come on in.
You're gonna love wear your purple. You're
exactly.
Good. Come here, Washington fan. And then the last one that I think is kind of intriguing. Well, you got the Bedlam game, Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. And I do think Oklahoma State gives them more than a game. But it's Notre Dame and Clemson.
I cannot wait to watch.
That
was
fun.
the one I want to watch.
Okay, so Kansas State, Texas, though, is interesting, too, because Kansas State, if they give, who knows, if they hang around and Texas loses, Texas is done now, because Texas got the one loss. Notre Dame and Clemson from like a...
after the radio show with Dabo?
Yeah, what do you got, Dabo?
Yeah.
Oh, I want him to get pulverized.
It might.
You weren't happy with the radio show?
No, I thought it was unprofessional.
Did you really?
I really did. I thought, quit worrying about what some fan says on your radio show. First of all, you're on your own coach's show. You know you're subject to that to happen, to be criticized or questioned.
Very true.
So, you know he's being paid for that radio show. I know he likes money. So just be a professional. Just say, okay, you know what?
Why does he have to take it? I disagree. He's got 2 national titles. He's got 12 10-win seasons in a row.
He could have worded it differently, Dan. He goes and
stick up for yourself.
I thought it was a bogus move.
I disagree.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah. I think you come in and you say, hey, you know what? You're spoiled. You're a spoiled fan.
And
You're
the fan can say the same thing. You're spoiled. You get all
he
this
makes
money.
$11.2 million
a year. You make $11 million a year, and you're 500. Why the hell do we have you as the head
he's
coach?
2-4 actually. I think
they're 4-4.
They're 4-4.
Or 2-4 in the ACC. I think.
There you go.
Yeah,
4-4 again. They probably beat 2.
Plus, I just don't really like Dabo, so that might.
You don't like him?
Dabo should have said. Dabo should have said, "You should thank me right now. I own you. I gave you 2 national titles."
Doesn't own the transfer portal.
No, he doesn't. He don't even want to be on the transfer portal.
Yeah, he better learn how to do that, or at least accept it if he's going to compete right now.
Yeah, all he needs to do is go to the mic and say, "My bad."
You're right.
We're going to put in some work there in the transfer portal. But yeah, they got a great slate of college football games tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it, man. It's going to be fantastic. If anybody's going to pull off the upset, let's Let's end it here.
I got one more game. What about Ole Miss, Texas A&M?
That one should be fun. I like what Texas A&M has done offensively because that's Bobby Petrino now.
Yep.
He's the OC for Texas A&M. Ole Miss, you talk about the ultimate roll of the dice. I don't know what I'm watching with Ole Miss.
Yeah,
They're wild, man.
They are either the most entertaining team in the nation, or you want to throw up. What am I watching here? So that one's going to be entertaining as well. All right, it's Fastlane on 101 ESPN. Let's get into something that Craig Berube said yesterday about the Blues and some changes. Or will they make any changes? That's next on 101 ESPN.
Anthony, FanDuel is America's #1 sports book for several reasons, but it's certainly their promotions for new customers that separates them from the pack. Because right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. So what that means here, okay? I'll help you out here.
Please do.
It means $150 if your team wins.
Huh?
Yep.
No, they got to cover.
Just got to win.
They got to cover the spread and that. Just win.
Just win, baby.
Straight up.
Mm-hmm. That's it. That's why they're the best.
Man, no kidding. FanDuel, they got all the action for you. The player props, the same-game parlays, the over-unders, the spreads, of course. They've got live betting. They got first-half betting. They got second-half betting. Hell, they got third-quarter betting, Jamie. If you want to bet on the third quarter of some random NFL game, you can do it at FanDuel. Again, visit FanDuel.com/fast. Again, FanDuel.com/fast. And you can take advantage of the promo that Jamie just read off to you. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL.
21 and over, present in Illinois. First online real money wager. Only $5 pregame money line wager required. First online real money wager. Only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issues, non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
101 ESPN Sports Center.
Ruby and the Blues make a couple of tweaks. Good afternoon. I'm Bradford Bruns, and this Sports Center update is driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Notes' top two lines expected to remain intact for tonight's clash with the Devils, but a member of the bottom six looks primed for a promotion. Alexei Toropchenko poised to move up to the third line, while Sammy Blais slides to the fourth. Defensively, Robert Bortuzzo replacing Tyler Tucker alongside Marco Scandella. You can hear all of the action on 101 ESPN with pregame starting at 6. Football, Missouri tackles number 2 Georgia tomorrow afternoon in Athens. Quarterback Brady Cook no longer appearing on the official injury report. Cody Schrader is probable. Elsewhere around the nation over the weekend, Alabama tussles with LSU and undefeated Washington goes to USC. This Sports Center update is brought to you by Johnny Londoff. Find new roads and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
It's a Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. Jamie Rivers, Dan McLaughlin. I'm Anthony Stalter. Blues tonight, back in action against the Devils. Pregame starting at 6 o'clock right here on your home of the Blues, 101 ESPN. Alex Ferrario will be down at Enterprise Center. So will Jamie Rivers, who's going to leave us in about 20 minutes or so. In about 10 minutes, Jamie's keys to the game, and we'll also play the first goal of the game.
Oh, yeah.
We have yet to score a first goal. Hey, by the way, Jamie, congratulations, man.
On what?
You won. You weren't here when... the day after when you won the home run derby.
Oh, yeah.
That's correct.
We were out celebrating. It was a big moment in the Rivers family.
Yeah.
How'd you guys celebrate? You get around, nice family dinner, enjoy yourself?
Dan, sometimes what's personal stays that way.
That's fine.
Bottle of wine and?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice steak.
Yeah.
Steak, lobster, wine, after dinner, just stuff.
Congratulations,
Fireplace.
Jamie. That's good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who? Anyways, Craig Berube was on with us yesterday, and we asked him if any changes are forthcoming, right, Jamie?
We did. And Chief, usually Chief gives us a nugget or two. Mm-hmm. Not this time. Here's what he had to say yesterday.
In a second. We almost got it.
We almost did.
You'll hear it.
Chief likes to keep us in suspense.
Yeah. The build-up sometimes is just as fun as the actual ride for the roller coaster.
Really?
Yeah, if you're in the line for a long time, it's the anticipation of it all. It stinks, it sucks, but, sometimes the anticipation's better.
Chief, are you there?
No, he went home.
Okay.
Well, either way, Chief told us that there would be no lineup changes. He thought that, things were kind of fine the way they were and whatnot. And, you know what? He says it better than me. Let's hear it.
I don't know if it's all about looks all the time. It can't be all about offense. It's got to be your whole team game. I'm not probably going to make any changes for tomorrow's game. We played one game. I liked a lot of things in the game, and there's some things I didn't like. But, I think it's a little early to jump the gun already.
Chief, you old dog. Told us no lineup changes, but then he made a couple of lineup changes.
Why would he do that to us, Jamie? I take that personally.
You know what? Not a whole lot that's surprising from this. He shuffled the deck a little bit. So up front, Jacob Verana will be playing with Hayes and Toropchenko. So Toropchenko elevated in the lineup to the third line. Jake Neighbors lowered back down to the fourth line with Blais and Sundqvist. And then the top two lines stay the same with Booch, Thomas, Kapanen, Saad, Shen, and Kyrou. On defense, you had a little bit of a change. Last game, you had Leddy playing with Tucker. Leddy gets elevated back to play with Parayko. Krug and Falk stay together, and then Scandella will have Robert Bortuzzo as his partner tonight. So some subtle changes. Jordan Binnington in between the pipes.
So what do you think it does? What do you think these little tinkering of the lineup does?
Initial thought when I looked at it was I think that he's trying to speed up the Hayes line a little bit. And Kevin Hayes, the pace that he plays at isn't fast. He's a good skater. He's a strong skater, but he's not blessed with a ton of speed. So how do you fabricate that? You put two guys that are really fast on the sides of him. Now, Toropchenko's, he's 6'6" and skates as fast as anybody. He's going to create out there. If Verana brings his A game and uses his speed the way he can, then he'll offset that as well with his speed. You drop Neighbors down with Sundqvist and Blais. I like it because you can match those guys up now tonight against some of the top lines for the Devils. They're going to outwork, outmuscle, outhit those guys. You can rely upon them. You can put them out there for defensive zone faceoffs. It's a strong, very strong fourth line. And then again, you've got the Kapanen, Thomas Buchnevich line. I would like to see a little more out of all of those guys, quite honestly. You need some scoring from your top two lines. Now, as far as the defense is concerned, Tucker had a bit of a rough one in Colorado, so it wasn't really a surprise for me to see that he wasn't going to be in the lineup. And it really wasn't a surprise for me to have Bortuzzo in there instead of Perunovic right now.
Hey, do you find it kind of odd that on the back-to-backs they went with Hofer, Bennington instead of Bennington, Hofer? And we got back-to-backs coming up starting tonight.
I don't find it odd because the way that, talking to David Alexander, the goalie coach for the Blues, he just said, we believe the heavier workload is going to be in the second game. So Joel Hofer had come off a loss to the Coyotes. So you don't want to give him the heavier workload necessarily on a back-to-back. So you put him on the front end of that against a Calgary team that had been struggling. Not that it's an easy game, but on paper it was a little bit of an easier matchup, and you get your young guy going. And so then Jordan Binnington, we saw what happened. Like, can you imagine if it was Joel Hofer?
Yeah, that first period was unbelievable.
Hey, who knows, right? And maybe Hofer stands on his head the same way Binnington did. I doubt it. But maybe he does. But if he doesn't, now that's another 5 or 6 spot up against Hofer. So it's 2 games in a row where he's kind of been taken to task a little bit. You don't want that. So there is a lot of planning and thought that goes into how you schedule your goalies. I think this is a good matchup here. You know, the Devils are the better of the two teams. And you're just coming off a loss to the Avalanche. Come back with Jordan Binnington, your number one. You follow that up with Joel Hofer against a not as good Montreal Canadiens team, and you're not traveling at all. You're still at home here, so you think that the horses would be pretty rested up too.
That's Jamie Rivers. You're going to hear his keys to tonight's game next, and we're also going to do the first goal of the game. Maybe one of us will get on the board next to the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. Jamie, when it comes to purchasing a home, that's your biggest investment. That's the biggest investment you're going to make. And if you're working with a realtor right now that is telling you, just go with my loan person, you're going to be in good shape, no problem. Okay, great. You can trust your realtor, no problem on that. But why don't you get a second opinion? Stewie's the guy. Stewie will comb over what is, in front of you in terms of the loan and the policy and all that stuff. And you might be surprised to find that he's gonna look for ways to save you even more money. And if you're borrowing $200,000 or more with Stewie, Jamie, you qualify for the bagel loan. No lender fees, no fees of any kind. In fact, no closing cost. You're gonna save a ton of money if you go with Stewie.
Yeah, Stewie's got to be your first call. He really does, because every week he comes on here with a new program or a tweak of a certain program that he had before that now benefits more people in different ways. And yesterday he was talking about, if you own your own business and you have all these write-offs and you're not trying to show that you make too much money, well, that doesn't work when you're trying to purchase a home. Stewie's got help for you. He's our guy. He needs to be your guy. So give him a call on his personal cell phone number. That number's 314-324-4440.
Again, 314-324-4440.
Or you can Google the Bagel Loan.
NMLS number 226715.
You've come to the right place. You're in the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. It's time for Jamie Rivers' keys to tonight's Blues game.
Ride on, Jamie, ride on.
With NHL experts Brad Thompson.
Shutout tonight, boys. Shutout.
It's a shutout for Ville Husso.
And Anthony Stalter.
I think David Perron is going to lead the Blues in goals in this series.
Perron, he scores! If you got a hat, chuck it in your radio. It's a postseason hat trick for David Perron.
Let's go, boys.
Yeah, if you're wondering, I think that was a playoff. Wasn't the playoffs last 2 years ago now? Because obviously they didn't make the playoffs last year. 2 years ago, I think Brad called a shutout for Ville Husso in the first game, and I said David Perron was going to lead the Blues in scoring. And I think he had a hat trick in the first game.
You guys are on fire, man.
Jamie is the expert, though, so that's why we go to Jamie for the keys to the game tonight. Keys to a Blues win against the Devils. What do you got, Jamie?
All right, so I've got 4 keys tonight for the Blues. Go puck management all the time. You know, we always talk about that. Well, how about we just manage the turnovers tonight? Manage the turnovers because that really hurt you last game against the Avalanche, specifically in the first period. 1, it gave them a whole bunch of momentum to start the game. And then 2, at the end of the game in the third period, it created a goal for the other team. In fact, there's 2 goals that were generated off of turnovers. So if you're the Blues, manage the turnovers tonight because the Devils do have a lot of talent. They got a lot of speed, and their transition game is top-notch. So it will hurt you, whether it's a goal against or just momentum for the other team. The turnover will cost you. So manage those. You got to try and slow down Jack Hughes somehow, some way. Best way to do that is make sure he has to play defense. So way to keep a goal scorer off the sheet is make them play defense. So again, that flows back to puck management. Make sure you don't turn the puck over, specifically when Jack Hughes is on the ice. You know, make him play defense. Make him get back to his own end. Make him play down low. Tire him out a little bit that way because he is leading the league in scoring right now. He's got 20 points already this season.
He's awesome.
He's really good. And if you don't make life difficult for him out there and you just let him play little pond hockey, he's going to get on the scoreboard. He's going to hurt your team. Third thing I've got, and this one's obvious, get the power play going. Mm-hmm. Get the power play going. You know, you have to start scoring some goals as far as what the man advantage is concerned. And on the flip side of that, tonight, stay out of the box, man. Stay out of the box. Why? Because New Jersey has the best power play in the league. Oof. They're humming at like over 40% on their power play right now. So you don't want to give them any extra opportunities. And the last thing I've got is keep your defensive structure. Last game against the Avalanche, you kind of got out of the structure a little bit, specifically on the one goal where Lehkonen was left all by himself in front because 2 guys that went to the same guy again. Get back to your defensive structure and make sure you stay disciplined with that. Those are my keys to the game.
Love it.
Let's go, boys.
We need you to score more goals. Get those loose pucks.
Thomas to Kyrou. Score! Goal!
No big deal. Game winner.
Top shelf.
Top shelf.
Way to go, Chief.
That's Chief telling us about a goal he scored on, was it Dominic Hasek?
Yeah. No big deal.
No big deal.
All right, first goal scorer of the game. This is for the Blues. In order to win, you got to call the first goal. Now, we have yet to do so thus far in the season. We haven't
been
played
a lot of goals.
Okay, well, I was going to go with we haven't played every single game. But
Well, that's true, too.
Yeah.
I haven't scored a lot of goals.
It's both, okay, guys? It's both.
Dan, who do you got?
Braden Shen, the captain, gets on the board first time in 2023, the 24 season. Braden Shen, the captain.
Braden Shen. Bradford.
Of all the players who've been maligned early in the campaign, guys, I don't think you have to look any further than Torrey Krug. This is the evening on which Krug gets untracked and specifically on the power play. You want to have a good homestand. You want to set the tone from the opening puck drop. First period tally from Mr. Krug.
Wow. Holy.
It's a big call right there from the top rope.
Jamie.
Swing for the fences.
Yeah, I'm going to go
Top rope.
Brandon Saad. I think that line is going to have a good to favorable matchup tonight. They're a very straight-lined group of guys. Kyrou's got speed. Shen's got the tenacity. Saad loves to go to the front of the net. Craig Berube talked all day about going to the front of the net. So, Brandon Saad is my guy.
I'm going to go Pavel Buchnevich.
The Booch.
How about we stop passing and start scoring, Pavel?
Yeah.
Starts tonight.
Be nice.
As Blues host the Devils. Pregame, 6 o'clock.
So there's one thing I wanted to address because we get some texters who are passionate about their Blues hockey, and I love them for that. And a big question right now surrounding the Blues is why they're not using Scott Perunovich more. The power play's not good. Why don't you use Scott Perunovich? Why don't you throw him out there?
Yeah.
Craig Berube had some quotes today, and look, playing in the NHL is hard. I can tell you that from past experience. Playing in the NHL as a young, skilled defenseman is really hard as well, especially when you're on a team that is trying to win hockey games. It's not development. So Berube was asked on what needs to happen for Perunovich to get into games, and here's what he said. He goes, that's a good question. He goes, I think right now the way our D-corps is lined up, I haven't minded our D-corps. I think they've defended pretty well and are doing the job. He goes, I know the power play isn't clicking like we want it to, but at the same time, Scotty's just got to be patient. He's missed a lot of hockey over the last 2 years, and coming into camp this year, he had to beat somebody out of a spot, and that hasn't happened. And lastly, about the power play and whatnot, he was asked about that, and he said that he's had his opportunities on the power play for a couple of games, and the power play wasn't any better. So Craig Berube shedding some truth on some areas here. Now, one could argue, has he had enough time on the power play? Do you just give the guy just 2 spots, 2 games, and then that's it? I don't know. From what I watched, I think Scott Perunovich has got work to do. And, Anthony, here's a quote from Craig Berube, and you tell me if you recognize it at all, okay? He says, he's got to work in practice and treat practices like they're games for himself and stay ready. He goes, I haven't minded him. He's practicing hard, and he's trying to do the right things. Again, he has to be patient.
That's exactly what you've said.
I've said he's got to treat practices like they're games.
Yep.
And he's got to start making it so that his teammates can't stand him in practice.
And sometimes, though, what about just a shake-up? And I understand what you're saying, but sometimes you got to shake things up.
You do.
Even when it's uncomfortable as a coaching staff.
Yeah, I don't think he's worried about that.
Yeah.
This season, I don't think Chief cares about guys' feelings too much right now. I think that he cared about feelings at the start of last season, and I think he believes that he should have acted differently with certain players at the start of last season.
Yeah.
I do feel a certain responsibility, too, for the coaching staff to get your actual guys going, too. And if you start just swapping guys in and out and moving pieces all over the place, it does come across as a little bit of panic at the same time. Even within the group, you're like, okay, well, this isn't working. Well, we'll try this. Well, that didn't work either. And, well, I'm supposed to be the guy, and now I'm not getting my chance. Now that guy, he starts to grip the stick even more. Like a guy like Torrey Krug, if you pull him off the power play and you put Scott Perunovich. Well, Torrey Krug doesn't have a point yet this year. Do you think this is going to help him? I don't think it motivates him.
Probably not.
I don't think it motivates him. And Scott Perunovich, I watched him in the 2 games he played. It's small sample size. He's not playing assertive enough. And that's not just defensively. Defensively, I could go on for hours about what things he has to do. Not hours. I could go on for a while about things that he has to do and be more consistent with. Offensively is where he's supposed to be able to dominate the game. That's his wheelhouse. It's not right now. And I get it. It's because he's not getting the reps. He's not getting the time on the ice. He's not, he doesn't feel like he's super confident right now. But you have to get to that spot. If you're going to be an offensive defenseman and the coach trusts you out there, specifically in offensive situations, then you got to make good tape-to-tape passes, good selections on who you're going to pass the puck to, be assertive with what you're doing out there, and make plays and create. And he hasn't done that, even in a small sample size.
Jamie, good stuff, man.
Thanks, buddy.
We'll see you tonight on Bally Sports Midwest.
Yeah, babe.
As the Blues host the Devils, and Jamie will see you on Monday. We do need a Gauntlet contestant, so if you want to text in right now to the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646, the word Gauntlet, you can take on Dan. You want in today?
No, I'm good.
All right, Brad, you can take on Bradford or me. Next in the Gauntlet on 101 ESPN.
You want to say something? Then say it. Use the mic drop feature in the 101 ESPN app. Search the 101 ESPN app now in the App Store or Google Play.
FanDuel, Anthony, they are America's #1 sports book for so many great reasons. But one of them is that they offer new customers right now $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. So all to get $150 in bonus bets, your team just has to win.
What?
Yeah.
So all you have to do is win. You don't even have to cover the spread.
Don't even worry about the spread. Don't even look at the spread. Doesn't matter. Just pick the winner.
It's beautiful. That's all courtesy of FanDuel. So if you want to check out FanDuel, you can do it right now. FanDuel.com/fast. Again, FanDuel.com/fast. If you want to take advantage of the promo that Jamie just read off to you, or if you're already a customer, but you want to take advantage of some of the other promos they have, again, FanDuel.com/fast, and they'll get you set up. They got spreads, player props. They've got the same game parlays, the over-unders. They've got all kinds of different first quarter, second quarter, third quarter props. They're fantastic at FanDuel. So check them out. FanDuel, the official betting partner of the NFL.
21 and over, present in Illinois. First online real money wager. Only $5 pregame money line wager required. First online real money wager. Only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issues non-withdrawable bonus. Bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
listening to the Fast Lane, broadcasting live from the Car Shield Studio on 101 ESPN. 3 warriors, 4 categories, 1 challenger. Can you master the Gauntlet?
Brought to you by Master, your hometown source for business communications for more than 30 years. Visit masstour.com.
Time for the Gauntlet here in the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN 403. Your time check is brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler, with Dan McLaughlin and Bradford Bruns. I'm Anthony Stalter. Bradford pinch hitting today for Andrew Marsh, and Jamie just left to go do some TV work for the Blues. So
yes, sir.
The 3 of us got you covered. Mike is our next Gauntlet contestant. What's up, Mike?
How's it going, boys?
It's going good. So, Mike, well, it depends, Mike. We said going into the break, either Bradford or me. Here's the thing, though. Bradford did a lot of the questions for the Gauntlet, so
probably be a disadvantage.
Yeah, probably be a big disadvantage. So, Mike, you're going to take on me today. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay. All right, Mike, good luck to you.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
All right, so he has taken off the headset. He is now going into the code of silence. And, my man, let's get it going, Bradford. Spin that wheel.
Mike, let's do this thing. Are you hoping for any category in particular today, Mike?
Anything but football or random.
Okay.
Is that a dog in the background?
Yeah, he's fine.
Okay, all right.
We'll allow that extra bit of assistance from your canine friend. Well, we do have to break the news to you, though. 50-50 shot, if you will. The wheel comes up, as it has been doing so frequently lately, on the random, Mike. It's going to be random today.
All right, let's do it.
Let's have some fun. Mike, question number 1. In 1492, taking it back ever so slightly, Italian explorer Christopher Columbus embarked on a voyage across which of the major oceans?
I'll go with Atlantic.
Final answer?
Yes, sir.
Question 2. What basketball star went by the nickname the Round Mound of Rebound?
Charles Barkley, I believe.
Final answer. Okay.
No hesitation thus far. We like that. Moving on to question number 3. Get your geography ready. Name the state capital of Wyoming.
Cheyenne?
Could you repeat that, please?
Cheyenne.
Okay. Final answer, I assume?
Yeah.
Very well.
Okay. And in whose honor did Elton John record the 1973 song Candle in the Wind? In whose honor did Elton John record the 1973 song Candle in the Wind?
I believe that's Marilyn Monroe. Final answer.
Man, oh man. My goodness, Mike.
Oh, yeah, I was ready, boys.
You came ready, and let's see what Anthony's got. We're going to bring in Anthony back in. Mike, what do you do for a living, my man?
I work at Emo's.
Oh, we're kind of hungry.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
You got money?
I'm not sure what Emo's you work at, but we're happy to, since we've already given you a little plug, if you want to bring in a pizza, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I'm the one that works at I work at the one that accepts cash.
I only caught part of that, but that was funny, Mike.
Mike works at Emo's, and he's done quite well here, Anthony.
Oh, no.
Just saying it.
You know what that means. Today, more than on any other occasion this week, you better have that lunch packed.
Oh, boy. All right.
Okay. Without any further ado, question number 1, Anthony.
What's the category?
Random.
Okay.
As per usual, right?
Yep.
We're really taking it back here. In 1492,
oh boy,
the Italian explorer Christopher Columbus, he embarked on a historic voyage across which of the major oceans?
Atlantic Ocean. Final answer.
Question 2. What basketball star went by the nickname the Round Mound of Rebound?
Charles Barkley. Final answer.
Question number 3. Geography style. Name the state capital of Wyoming.
Cheyenne. Final answer.
Question 4. In whose honor did Elton John record the 1973 song Candle in the Wind?
Candle in the Wind. Wasn't it Dust in the Wind?
No, that's another group.
You're my boy, Anthony.
I don't know. Can I have the options, please?
Sure. Jackie Kennedy, Marilyn Monroe, Audrey Hepburn.
Jackie Kennedy, Audrey Hepburn, or who?
Marilyn Monroe.
Gotta be Jackie Kennedy, right? Out of those three, I'll take Jackie Kennedy. Final answer.
Okay.
Dan, I did not expect a barn burner like this
No,
today.
it's a barn burner, no
really
doubt.
didn't. High scoring
I was
affair.
nervous and am nervous.
Ooh. Tight
Look at
contest.
Anthony. Anthony's very nervous.
I feel okay, though. I feel pretty good.
Yeah, heart rate's good. Heart rate's good. All right, let's review these. Dan, I'll start from the top, and then we'll alternate back and forth.
All
In
right.
1492, Mike, Anthony, Christopher Columbus, he went on that voyage across which of the major oceans? You both stated Atlantic did not require the options. You gentlemen are correct.
Nice job there, Mike.
It was the Atlantic Ocean. Forget about the Pacific and the Indian.
Okay, what basketball star went by the nickname the Round Mound of Rebound? Mike, no options. Anthony, no options. Mike and Anthony both guessed Charles Barkley. That is correct.
Nice job, Mike.
Through 2 questions. Okay, so 2 points apiece, correct? Just clarifying the rules here. So it's a 4-4 deadlock right now. Question number 3. State capital of Wyoming. We're back in 4th, 5th grade, whatever grade that is. Both of you, without any hesitation,
2nd grade.
said, for some. It depends on the district, I guess, Dan.
I guess
you know?
so.
Cheyenne. Indeed. It is Cheyenne. So how
Mike
about
had Cheyenne
that?
too?
Cheyenne,
Wow.
yeah, boom, just like that.
Holy
6-6, taking us to question number 4.
In whose honor did Elton John record the 1973 song Candle in the Wind? Mike went with no options. Anthony, you went with options. Anthony went with Jackie Kennedy. Mike went with no options, Marilyn Monroe. The answer is Marilyn Monroe.
Oh, wow, Mike.
Marilyn Monroe.
Which means, Mike.
You have chosen wisely.
Holy smokes.
No options and got him right.
Mike, you swept the board?
Yeah, he swept the board.
Damn, man, nice
And
job.
I did not want random, and I swept the board. So good day, eh?
I would say so. Congrats, man. That's impressive. Well done.
I'm also going to the Metallica concert that I won off you guys too. So thanks a lot.
Everything's coming up, Mike.
Yeah, we can't get a little pie here, a little pizza pie. Come on, man.
Nice job, Mike. Congrats. Well, enjoy the concert, and we'll call you on Monday. You'll take on either Jamie or Marsh.
All right, sounds good, boys.
Congratulations, Mike. Have fun
nice
at the
work.
concert.
Yeah, have a great weekend.
Anthony, I like to think that you knew the more contemporary version of that song, the one dedicated to Princess Di, remix, if you will, 90s version after her passing, Candle in the Wind.
I definitely, if Princess Di was on, was an option, I would have went Princess Di on that.
Decades later.
I just went like Jackie Kennedy, the classic.
I get it.
But Mike.
I knew it. No offense.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
Is that common knowledge? And I don't know. Obviously, it wasn't common to me.
I'm a huge Elton John fan.
Okay.
So I knew it just from following him. I've seen documentaries on him. I actually saw one on Candle in the Wind and a specific, they went through a bunch of his songs and who they were dedicated to or, why he wrote certain things. So I did know that.
Okay.
But that was it. I mean, that's, if you're not following Elton John, why would you know?
No.
Did you catch the last live performance from Dodger Stadium? That came out just a few months ago.
I did. I watched that. I actually have seen him in concert probably 4 or 5 different times.
Have you?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Out in Vegas, I sat in the front row by myself and watched him. Yeah.
Wow.
I was on a Cardinals road trip, and we had a day off, so I flew from Arizona to Vegas and watched him and then flew back and did the game.
Would you say he's like your number one musician?
Yeah, he was pretty good.
Okay.
He's about as good as it gets, especially in person. I mean, and he's like 100 years old and still doing it.
Yeah. We saw. I think Chris and I watched the movie.
It was
Rocket Man.
Yeah, Rocket Man is pretty good.
That was good.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Yeah.
So, what's your favorite jam?
Candle in the Wind is up there, but
why can't I think of Candle in the? All I'm hearing is Dust in the Wind now.
No, it's like
Dust in the Wind.
shoot him down.
Seems to me.
You lived your life like a candle in the wind.
Oh yeah. No, I got it. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, got
We're
it.
harmonizing now.
I like
Bradford, very nice.
what's that? Saturday.
Saturday night is all right. Saturday, yeah.
That's a good jam.
For fighting and all that stuff, yeah. It's pretty good.
All right.
Leave on like shit money. See, I got a lot of them.
Where's Billy Joel?
I
Is
thought
he going
Elton
to join
John
us
was
too?
in here. I thought he was in this. I thought he was in the studio, Bradford. I thought Elton John was sitting with us here.
Thank you.
Good stuff. All right, that's Dan McLaughlin. That's Bradford Bruns.
Leave on like money.
We'll let you get some sports six-pack questions in now. 314-399-9646. We're going to do that toward the end of the hour here. Dan, do you want to get into this, Dabo?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay.
Let's do it.
We didn't get to this the other day, and Dan, after the show, he looked me dead in the eyes, and he goes, hey, I want Dabo on Friday.
Absolutely. Let's do Dabo. And there's some news on Michigan, too. Michigan and Ohio State. How about that?
Apparently,
the
college
college football coming up.
Apparently, the rivalry once again spills outside the lines.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's next on 101 ESPN.
They clinched first place in their division years ago. The Fast Lane on 101 ESPN.
So Bradford read off some of the text in the break. People giving me a hard time about the Elton John question. All I know is I got a Wyoming question right without the options and a Christopher Columbus question right without. I'm cool, man.
Yeah,
Mike,
you did.
Congratulations. He swept the board, so he was on one today. All right, you get if I'm Mizzou, you're not happy with the win or the loss, I mean, but you're happy with the effort today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think your effort was outstanding. I'll be honest about it.
Because Mike was Georgia.
Well, I think that the line on you and Mike, I would have given Mike a few points.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I know your vast knowledge, and I'm shocked. Quite frankly.
I don't blame you.
I'm shocked.
I don't blame you, Dan, not one bit. So Dabo Sweeney, we know that this audio's been out for a couple of days now, but Dan and I never got into it the other day. Jamie and I discussed it a little bit yesterday, but Dan had some strong takes on it. So Dabo Sweeney, as a lot of people know, he's got this radio show, and we won't play the audio. We'll save it from that. But a caller called in and said, hey, how do you justify what you're making salary-wise when you're 4-4 on the year? And Dabo went off on him. And I thought Dabo brought up a lot of good points. From my perspective, Dan, I wish you would have narrowed in on some of the things that are like unshakable, such as, hey, I understand you're upset. We've won 2 national titles in 7 years. The only other 2 teams that have ever done that, or that can say that they've done that, is Georgia and Alabama. We graduated at a 95% clip. I'm very proud of that, and you should be proud of your Clemson Tigers as well. This season's not good enough, and leave it at that. Dabo, I think, went on and on and on and on, and that's where I think you start to look like a fool. But from your perspective, Dan, did you have any issue with what Dabo said?
I really didn't. I think fans get spoiled. And but here's the flip side of that. When you go after fans, you lose.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the one thing that you got to remember. When players get upset at fans, you lose. Management, you lose. Manager, coach, you lose. So I think he was kind of in a no-win situation. In his defense, though, to your point, 12 consecutive 10-win seasons, 2 national titles, but 2-4 in the ACC this year, and squarely the spotlight is on him this weekend against Notre Dame.
Yep.
I mean, there's a ton of pressure, in my opinion, on him this weekend against Notre Dame. On the other side, too, I think the other part of it, too, is that he has brought so much attention and so much money to the school that shouldn't be overlooked either. Like to me, Nick Saban is underpaid. Mm-hmm. I mean, Nick Saban is building and building and building for that school. I mean, literally, there are cranes in the ground nonstop. I would assume, I don't know for a fact, I would assume the same thing is happening with enrollment at Clemson, the visibility of the school. So take sports out of it and what he means by putting Clemson front and center football-wise, and what he means to the school. So for a fan to go off on him, I thought the fan was wrong. Did Dabo take it too far? Probably, but the premise of what he was saying, I agree with.
You bring up a really good point about how much money you're generating for either your business or, in this case, your program, your university. That is one thing that fans, and I don't blame them for not having this perspective, but when you do talk about major collegiate sports, football, basketball, how much that head coach is bringing in to your university. That is something I think you should probably have perspective on before you talk about somebody's salary. I've always said this. Whatever somebody is willing to pay you, Dan, is how much you're worth. That's a fact. You may think you should deserve, you deserve more. Okay, we'll ask for more. And if you don't get it from them, go to the next person. If they're not willing to pay you that, I'm sorry. That's not what you're worth, whatever number it is. I'm not saying you're not worth it from a human being standpoint. But we're talking about salary, which this caller did. You have to factor in how much he's making for the university.
That's the point I'm trying to make. In addition to, does he not get a grace period at all to have downtime?
That was his point, too.
Now, a fan, if a fan called in and said, hey, Dabo, I think you need to get more involved in the transfer portal. We're seeing across the board universities and teams are doing this. It is the way that college football goes in 2023, and you've decided not to dive into that pool. I think that's a problem.
Yes.
And let him then explain why he's doing what he does. But to just sit there and outright go off on him, I don't think Dabo has to just sit there and take it. But did he take it too far with a fan? Probably. But does he need to just take it, period? No, I don't think he should.
Yeah. He has every right to say something.
By the way, did you see what happened with Michigan and Ohio State?
So you guys were talking about this, you and Jamie, when I came in. If you miss the latest,
this is pretty good.
Apparently, Dan, go ahead, because I think you're more up on the story as right now, because this has been an unfolding story.
So several sources at Michigan and in the media tell Wolverine.com that they are gathering evidence on 2 private investigators they believe that are behind the investigation into Michigan's alleged illegal on-site scouting. Same sources also believe the two are responsible for the media leaks that have kept the story in the news for weeks. Both allegedly have ties to Ohio State head coach Ryan Day's family.
How about that?
Pretty good. It just keeps going, doesn't it? I don't understand why the commissioner of the Big Ten hasn't come in and done more. I think just to sit back on your heels in this and just kind of let it play out, while it might be in the best interest of the conference, I don't think it's fair to the other teams. You agree with that?
Yeah, especially when you have these other teams saying something needs to be done.
Well, I mean, think about what he did last year with the Michigan State situation where there was remember they had like the brawl inside the tunnel?
Yeah.
They were all over it and suspending Michigan State players. Now, this is something that is even way bigger. I mean, a player could get hurt. If you know where the play is going, he could blindsided and get hurt in something like this.
I think Purdue's AD said that too, right? Like that was the thing that he had come out and said too.
And Purdue's head coach, I think they've got Purdue this weekend, came out and said, we have changed the entire language of what we do offensively because we have to.
Yeah.
And we're changing up formations. We're changing up everything we do to prepare for Michigan.
Wow.
But I don't understand why the commissioner is sitting back on this. I also don't understand if these allegations are true, how the college football playoff committee can't look at that and say, this is kind of an asterisk and we need to take a look at it, and I'm not sure we can vote you in.
The problem is there's no rule against sign stealing in the NCAA.
But how far can you take it to where it's legal?
That's exactly where I was going to go.
Moral, I guess, is the right way to put it.
How far does this go? So there's no rules against somebody like on the sidelines looking over and trying to decode the signals of another team, right? That falls into like baseball. Do a better job of protecting your signs. But what you're talking about,
and it happens all the time.
And if you're going to great lengths, how far does this thing go where Michigan has every single sign? Do they have, do we start to get into like what Bill Belichick and the Patriots were doing? How far does it go? Because that goes into the competition factor. And Dan, this is the number one reason why we love sports. We may not view it this way, but the number one reason we love sports is because it's unpredictable. It's live entertainment. It's the best, it's the best reality TV show that you're ever going to watch because it's not fake. The moment it starts to feel fake is when sports is whatever sport it is, that's when it's in trouble. If it's a fix or if it's not like this. So to your bigger point about somebody stepping in, step in for, let's make sure that what people are watching is still the best reality TV show and it's not some fake product because Michigan has all the signs.
I can't wait for tomorrow. Notre Dame and Clemson, that's number one. I also am looking forward to Michigan and just what comes out of it. How is it presented on television in the game? And the other thing, I can't wait for probably a month from now when we hear that there's 30 other schools doing the same thing.
That's the other factor.
It opens up a can of worms of what's about to happen.
One team's doing it. There's another team that's doing it too.
100%.
When the Belichick thing came out, there was a lot of people that were saying, "Hey,
we were doing it too." Yeah.
Check out college football.
So you get one to air their dirty laundry. An opposing team or teams, in this case, they air the dirty laundry of another. Oh, really? Let me tell you what I got on you.
Right.
That's coming.
And then it's kind of like the Astros.
Yeah.
That deal where it's like, oh, really, Yankees? You're clean over there?
Yeah, let's find out. Yeah.
All right, it's Fastlane on 101 ESPN. So we do have our Sports Six-Pack coming up next. Text in 314-399-9646. Again, 314-399-9646. We'll do our Sports Six-Pack next in the Fastlane.
101 ESPN Sports Center.
MU prepares to battle between the hedges. Good afternoon. I'm Bradford Bruns, and this Sports Center update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Having received almost 2 full weeks of rest, 7-1 Missouri opposes vaunted Georgia tomorrow afternoon at 2:30. The Tigers' lone loss this season came versus LSU. The Bulldogs haven't fallen at all. In other major SEC action over the weekend, Alabama goes toe-to-toe with Brian Kelly's squad. Texas A&M visits number 10 Ole Miss, and Arkansas takes on Florida. Tonight at 7 o'clock, the Blues host New Jersey in the Notes' first home contest in almost 2 weeks as well. Alexei Toropchenko has been bumped up to the third line. Jordan Binnington once again finds himself in net. This Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
You're in the Fast Lane, coming to you live from the Car Shield Studio on 101 ESPN.
I have a question.
It's time for the Fast Lane to answer your sports questions.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions, and I want to have them answered immediately.
Asking me all these weird questions.
Answer the question.
Answer the question.
Answer me!
The Sports Six-Pack is refreshed by Maggie O'Brien's, your go-to Irish pub in St. Louis for over 42 years.
All right, time for the Sports Six-Pack here in the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. Bradford Bruns in for Andrew Marsh. Dan McLaughlin helping fill out the remainder of the show after Jamie left to go do some Bally Sports Midwest. Dan?
Question 1, please.
Question number 1.
Gentlemen, a heavy hitter right out of the gates. This one's for all of the lifelong St. Louis sports fans. This comes from the 314. Rank the following championship seasons in order of greatness. You have the Rams Super Bowl run, ultimately vanquishing the Titans 99-2000, the Blues Stanley Cup victory over the Bruins, and the Cardinals knocking off the Rangers in 2011. That's a dandy.
I'm going to go Blues, Rams, Cardinals. And my reasoning is the Blues ended heartache. The Rams aren't here, so it lessens for me. And the Cardinals had won championships before, and that's why I'd put the Blues ahead of the Cardinals, even though it was just the most remarkable World Series Game 6 you're ever going to see in your life, which, by the way, the first 6 to 7 innings were awful. It was a bad baseball game, but the ending was unbelievable.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Dan, I think you nailed it. I mean, holy mackerel, you're right. The Blues 2019 Stanley Cup, I don't know how. That's your first, so... The Cardinals, remarkable in 11. The Rams, I'll tell you what, none of them were expected. You're talking about a Cardinals team that in 11 needed every bit of the regular season just to squeak in, plus help from the Braves.
Yeah.
Right? Or the Braves lose on the final day?
Braves lost in the final day. Cardinals were in Houston, won that game, and then went into the clubhouse to watch the Braves lose.
There you go. So the Cardinals needed every bit of 162 just to get in. You had the Carpenter and Roy Halladay, RIP.
Prior to that, too, they beat the Phillies, and the Phillies were vastly better in a lot of categories.
Ryan Howard's never the same, unfortunately. Local product Ryan Howard, because that was when he tore his Achilles.
It was
on the final play, right?
Unfortunately, it was kind of a microcosm of where these two franchises were going. Ryan Howard goes down, it ends their run, tore his Achilles, and then the Cardinals and Carpenter outduel Halladay, and it was Skip Schumacher who had the hit in the game that brought in the run for the Cardinals.
That's right. And then they beat the Brewers, right?
Beat the Brewers, and that was a team that, and I can't remember, I can see him on Sports Illustrated, the guy that frustrated everybody with the Brewers.
Brewers or Braves?
Brewers.
That was the Brewers. Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Tony Plush.
Yeah, exactly.
Niger Morgan.
Yeah, Niger Morgan.
Yeah. And so that was, that was a hell of a series, too.
Yeah, it was.
It was good. I mean, and David Freese was awesome in that series as well.
But again, you got so the Cardinals did that in 11. The Blues were in dead last, and we were all trading everybody at the deadline in 19. And the Rams lost Trent Green, of course.
Yep.
Like, none of this from a perspective of like expectations. None of those should have happened, and they all did, which makes it remarkable.
And you have to consider the points for so many different people, Anthony, football fans in their formative years, getting that experience with the St. Louis Rams, going down to the Dome like nothing so many football fans, younger ones, had ever seen.
Yeah.
So I think
I'm a perfect
novelty
example.
would be a perfect, not the perfect word there, but different experiences. So
I used to go to the
galvanizing.
old football Cardinal games. I mean, I used to sit there and it was freezing cold at Busch Stadium, and I'd go down there and watch those games, and they were terrible. And then you saw the Rams initially, terrible.
Yeah.
And then they win and come out of nowhere. It was unbelievable.
And that offense, of course, will not be duplicated.
No.
You know, I mean, there are versions of it. But
What do you think of the Dolphins when they say, oh, it's the greatest show on turf compared to what we saw with the Rams?
No.
Not even close.
No. They don't have Marshall Faulk.
And you can't be physical with receivers any longer.
Right.
Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt, Ricky Prohl had to get through the contact, getting jammed at the line.
Man.
Totally different.
I mean, the Patriots unfortunately won that Super Bowl in large part because the refs, Belichick knew the refs would swallow the whistle. So they just mugged the receivers, among other things. But that offense, it will not be duplicated.
Question 2, please.
Question number 2.
From the 636, keeping it somewhat baseball-centric here. Guys, we know that Nolan Arenado, he's a finalist for this year's Silver Slugger Award at third base. But which of the Cardinals' young up-and-comers maybe is poised to make a real push for said honor in 2024?
I think it depends on where you play Nolan Gorman, or if he's just the DH. And you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, third baseman, a Silver Slugger, goes to Nolan Arenado. Jordan Walker's right field. Where's Nolan Gorman? He plays a little second base. He plays maybe a little third here and there. He's your DH.
Right.
Is he? And the other question is, does he get enough at-bats against left-handed pitching? Which
Probably
the
not.
answer at this point is probably no.
No. I think the Cardinals like their... I don't know if it's Ollie necessarily or the Cardinals just as an organization. I think they pride themselves in versatility. I think it cost them last year.
Oh, by putting guys out of position.
Totally.
Yeah.
I don't like that style because of because of the personnel. If you're the Giants, go for it. You have a team full of half players. You have a team full of platoon players. No problem. You go do that. The Cardinals don't have a team of platoon players.
I want to see more plug and play next year.
Me too. Same.
Now, would you, in doing that, would you put Tommy Edman at center?
Yes.
And then where are you going to put Newbar?
Right.
Where are you going to put Jordan Walker?
Left.
Okay. Where's Tyler O'Neill?
In Oakland.
Dylan Carlson?
Fourth outfielder.
That would mean that Tyler O'Neill is out of the league because Oakland won't have a team.
Las Vegas.
Okay.
Yes, he could be in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
I would like to see Jordan Walker be the full-time DH, but how are you going to get him up to speed defensively?
Yeah, and I think Brendan Donovan's got to play more. I'd love to see him as an everyday player, meaning I don't want to see him Ben Zobrist typed, where he's going to the outfield. When I'm saying playing more, I want to see him every day at second base. That's if Tommy Edman is in center field every day. And Tommy handled that position wonderfully.
Yeah.
So
what would you do with Gorman then? Because I would think Gorman should be your everyday second baseman.
I'd put Gorman as my DH, and I'm going to give him a run at hitting against left-handed pitching.
Do you truly have a better outfield arm than Walker right now? We know about some of the tracking. We understand. We witnessed it throughout 2023 in the summer. But going into next season, you can't really be married to that idea when the upside is potentially there. You do have a lot of versatility.
I think arm strength, Bradford, no. But accuracy and arm strength, I think Newt's got a better arm.
Probably right. And probably some of that comes to familiarity of playing in the outfield. I would imagine, though, the stronger arm, I bet it's Walker.
I agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Just making sure you hit cuts or on a line to third or when you have a one hopper to the plate. I'm taking Newt. Yeah.
And the strides that were made from day one through the end of September into October with Willie McGee, we heard it repeatedly from the Cardinals brass. A lot of improvement was made. We'll see.
Yeah.
Question number 3,
please.
Jump the gun
Question
there.
3, please.
How about a few more pucks? Across the NHL, gentlemen, a very familiar organization in the Western Conference is just flat out dominating. The Golden Knights have not lost yet in regulation going into tomorrow night's game versus the Avalanche. Pretty crazy stuff. Should we just shut down the Pacific race at this point? Boston and Vegas are just dominating everybody.
Well, Boston, though, had an unbelievable season last last year.
Record setting.
I mean, I thought, yep, that's it. Boston, same idea, right? Like, just go ahead and crown them. And, then Matthew Tkachuk happened, and that's it. But we've seen this in the NHL. We saw this before Tampa had their run. Tampa had the best record and lost to somebody in the first round. Was it Columbus that got them in the first round?
No, I don't think it was Columbus. I can't remember who it was.
Somebody shocked them in the first round.
Yeah,
and again we had it with Boston last year. So
Boston is awesome this year. I watched them the other night. They are phenomenal.
They're loaded.
They are loaded. I'm interested to see if Vegas can stay at this pace. And was I wrong? Was it Columbus?
Was it Columbus? Bradford,
with Tampa Bay?
Look that up, please. Let's see here. I'll look it up. Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah.
We'll find out. You're talking about Boston being loaded, though.
It was Columbus. They swept them, I believe.
Yeah. There we go.
All right. I remember sweep. I just couldn't remember.
Yeah, I thought it was Columbus.
No, you're right. You're right. Question 4, please.
Question number 4.
Final one before the break. The 314 is sore at you guys for not diving into Lakers Clippers. Just kidding. But hey, let's get into a little bit of round ball talk, actually. Dan, I know that you're pretty enthusiastic about this play-in tournament, this in-season tournament that's actually already transpiring tonight in the association. Soccer style, there's some intrigue there. What are you really feeling about this subject?
I think it's going to work to an extent. So each NBA team plays in a 4-team. It's kind of like a soccer style group with the competition is staggered across the winter calendar. So you're trying to make this give it more reason to play, reason to watch, reason not to let these players sit out for load management kind of thing. A lot of the fans, and I think hockey can be thrown in this to an extent, skip the beginning of the season because football is still going on. Mm-hmm. College football, pro football. So if you're trying to get eyeballs to your sport, this is one way to do it. And apparently they did a survey of this, and only over 80% of fans said, we like what this brings about, because at least there's some intrigue and there's something at the end where you're actually playing for a meaningful game in November, as opposed to just to me, the NBA starts on Christmas Day. When you have all those Christmas games, It's like, okay, I'll pay attention. It's Christmas. I got nothing else going on. Yeah. I'll watch the NBA. There's usually a college football game later that night, but you're trying to attract eyeballs. You're trying to grow your league, and you got to do different things to make it feasible, and would be, I think it's gonna be interesting to see if fans are willing to do this.
Dan, you and I talked about this.
Yes.
If you really want to attract eyeballs to your product, how about you put your players on the court? And
Period. I think the kid, though, from San Antonio is fun to watch.
You read my mind. There's a reason to watch the association. Now, he took down Durant and the Suns twice in the span of a week.
He had 38 last night.
Yeah, he looks good.
He is. There are a handful of guys that I think are transcendent when they first came up. Larry Bird being one, and no particular. Magic Johnson, Wilt Chamberlain.
Ron.
Yeah, but he was like a truck coming at you. I mean, these are unique talents.
Viscerally.
Yes. I mean, it's just a different type of player. Like LeBron is an unbelievable player, but he was like a truck coming at you.
Yeah. You saw it coming.
Yeah, and he wasn't the player that he is now. I'm talking about walking into the league. I mean, Larry Bird was a forward that could pass and shoot. And Wilt Chamberlain, this is unbelievable to me. Wilt Chamberlain at one point averaged, I think, 50 and 25. And Bill Russell was the MVP that year, and Wilt Chamberlain was first-team All-NBA.
Wow.
Isn't that the weirdest thing?
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, just transcendent players. And this guy looks like he might be one because he's 7'4".
What about Steph, just from a three-point?
That's the other one.
The way that it changed. I mean, college basketball teams are just, everybody's shooting the tray.
That's another one that comes to mind. Yeah. That's a good call.
Good call. All right, it's Fastlane on 101 ESPN. We'll finish up the Sports Six-Pack. Sports Six-Pack Part 2.
Question 5 coming.
Next on 101 ESPN.
The Blues Their game, every game. This is the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN.
I have a question.
It's time for the Fast Lane to answer your sports questions.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions, and I want to have them answered immediately.
Asking me all these weird questions.
Answer the question.
Answer the question.
Answer me!
The Sports Six-Pack is refreshed by Maggie O'Brien's, your go-to Irish pub in St. Louis for over 42 years.
All right, let's continue the Sports Six-Pack here in the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. I love when Bradford's like, I know you jokers won't go the full six. So I'm just going to build in 2 segments.
So what are we at?
Smart.
Question 5?
Question 5, please.
Question 5,
Question
please.
number 5.
5 indeed. Dan, and next week the general manager meetings begin in Arizona. If I'm not mistaken, about 130 plus players actually filing for free agency this particular season. As far as what to monitor in the early going, what do you envision being some of the main storylines?
An easy one we just kind of hit last segment, but that would be the Las Vegas A's and where they're going to play. They got to figure that thing out before the season gets going. That's obvious. Postseason format, I bet that's on what they're talking about. So if you win your division for a team with a first-round bye, do you get the 5 days off? And is there something there of a competitive disadvantage all of a sudden by what you should have as an advantage? I bet they're going to look at that. And then the other thing that they'll look at, I guarantee it, will be the automated strike zone. And, unless it's 100% right, which I don't know if it is. I've heard good and bad with this. But unless they have it 100% right, I don't know how you introduce it to the game.
I don't either.
I mean, you have to have it right.
It could be a disaster. An absolute disaster.
I saw a game like 2 years ago, and it's improved since this point, but literally a guy bounced it in front of the plate, and then it landed in the strike zone. They called a strike.
Yeah.
And the batter looked back at the umpire. It was like, really? And the umpire just shrugged his shoulders and said, all I do is say yes or no to what they put in my ear. And you can't have that. So it's got to be perfect. And they did introduce it at AAA. So you had high-end baseball games that were being used in those games. But unless it's 100%, which I don't know if you can ever get it 100%, but close to it, I'm not introducing it.
Agreed.
What do you do then with the 5 days off for teams that have that first-round bye? Here's the one thing to consider. One of the ideas was that starters, it allows you to rest your starting pitching. Mm-hmm. If we learned anything about how postseason baseball is played, your starters don't go long anyway. They might go 6 innings. They might go 7 innings. And when you see that, everybody's like, wow, he went 7 innings.
Yeah.
They go 2 times around anyway. What's the difference?
I think they got to keep it the way it is.
So you rest up a little bit?
Yeah.
I think, guys, after 162 games in creatures of habit, I think you do lose a little bit of an edge.
Yeah. Did the Braves lose? I agree. But did the Braves lose because of the layoff, or were the Phillies just better in that series?
Yeah, Phillies were better.
Dodgers.
Even Brian Snicker said that.
Yeah.
He said, we're not going to use this as an excuse.
Dodgers, they didn't have the pitching. Arizona had better pitching.
Clayton Kershaw wasn't any good.
Yeah. I don't think Kershaw got destroyed because he had a layoff, Yeah. I think we've made it might not be a narrative, it might be a reality, but I don't know if you go ahead and change anything.
Yeah.
You could give like the teams the options, but why would you play an extra series?
So those are the things I bet that they're talking about. And then I would imagine the Cardinals are bunkering down like they do. Every team does this during the winter meetings. You literally have like multiple hotel rooms, and you just sit there and you bring in an agent. You bring in maybe a player is there. Not often. It's pretty rare, but you bring them in. You bring in the other GMs, and you sit down and you start hashing things out. I would imagine that this will be as busy a GM meetings that they've had in years.
Yeah.
Because they're going to have to get creative.
No doubt.
Question 6, please.
Question number 6.
Finishing up with baseball, with so much attention being paid to Nola, Sonny Gray, Blake Snell from the 636, what exactly is the profile on Yamamoto, and does the lack of evidence somehow make him a little less appealing?
Dan had it earlier.
Yeah, 5-time All-Star, 3-time ERA champion, 2-time Triple Crown champion in the NPB. So that's the equivalent of the MVP and the Cy Young Awards. There's some people that believe he's the best pitcher in the world. I mean, I've heard that being spoken about him. It's a mid-90s fastball. He's got swing and miss splitter. His spin rate on his curveball is high, and they all went for strikes 65% of the time. And so when people sit there and say, well, you don't have a real good idea because he hasn't gone against major league hitters, I understand that, but there's more evidence out there than we've ever had on guys that come from overseas to quantify what they do because of spin rates, velocity, location, video, all those things. So that helps you have a better understanding of what you're going to get potentially if you do sign him.
What about the diminutive frame, though? Does that give you any pause if it's a smaller guy, if he's not your classic guy towing the rubber? Maybe you're looking, though, at a Lincecum. Maybe you're looking at first, a poor man's version of Pedro.
I don't know. I don't know enough about him outside of the things I just talked about. I know his repertoire, and I'll go more. I'm not worried about weight, height, all that stuff. I'm more worried about durability and what you think, because they can try to project that as well. And spin rates, I'm worried, I'd be looking into that. He just turned 25.
Yeah, that's...
Just turned 25.
That is more intriguing to me right now than paying Aaron Nola even more at his age. And Aaron Nola is not coming off a great season.
Would you be, I guess, though, the question would be, are you somewhat, having not seen him face major league hitters, are you a little bit tentative in giving that kind of money to that player?
Yes. But at 24, I think the upside is worth it.
Could you imagine, though, if he's 25 years old and he's not the guy you thought he is, and you get hamstrung with that deal?
It'd be bad. It'd be real bad.
Especially for a mid-market team, potentially.
Yeah.
No way, man. That could hamper that payroll for years.
From a durability standpoint, though, I'm also backtracking in a way right now, because you think about the way in which the game is played, and it's not as if pitchers, even from the era in which the two guys I referenced, when they thrived, Lincecum, Martinez, you're not conditioning pitchers to go 6, 7, 8 at a time. Durability becomes less of a concern if you're nearing 100 and still able to really ratchet it up in the velo department. Maybe that's not as much of an issue.
But every guy is, for the most part, max effort. So, the one thing that these guys could do is maybe not show their best stuff first time through. Maybe you're not throwing as hard with max effort. Now the game is played with complete max effort all the way through. It's something to think about.
So you're talking about actually like pitching.
Oh, yeah. Actually pitching. Location, sink it.
Saving a little bit for the latter innings because you expect to go to like pitching. You're talking about
that's kind of the idea. Kind of the idea.
I'd like to see that, Dan.
Is Verlander like the last true craftsman as far as that approach goes?
Awesome. He is, man. He gets in the ninth inning. He throws. How the hell is he throwing 93? Because he was throwing 70. He was throwing 86 beforehand.
And it's so much fun to watch a guy that knows how to pitch.
Yes.
I mean, give me a 2-1 game. Give me a 1-0 game. And I know the younger generation, for the most part, doesn't want to see that. But man, a well-pitched game or somebody that's got a clue is fun to watch.
There is something to, though, a pitcher's duel.
Oh, it's awesome.
Just as exciting as that. Because you're still going to eventually get some sort of offense, and the offense becomes more meaningful.
Exactly. There's a premium put on that one pitch or that one that you miss and it gets hit out of the ballpark.
Because really, in the annals of recent Cardinals history, was there any game more captivating, arguably, than Carpenter v. Halladay?
No.
Carpenter Clemens in 2005 was pretty darn good. That was a good one. But with everything on the line, no. Captivating. Yeah.
It's the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. What's trending is next.
WXOS HD1 East St. Louis. 101 ESPN is driven by Auto Centers Nissan, home of the lifetime warranty and 30-day return. More of what you want to hear. Sports. This is the Fast Lane, broadcasting live from the Car Shield studio on 101 ESPN. What's trending in the world of sports? The Fast Lane has you covered. What's trending now?
Brought to you by Goodwill. Donate to Goodwill to win a magical Polar Express staycation.
Just past 5 o'clock on the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. Friday, November the 3rd. Bradford Bruns, Anthony Stalter, Dan McLaughlin with you. Gentlemen, it is time for What's Trending Now. And in just under 2 hours downtown, the Blues back in action, looking to really wipe away the stench of the last couple of games, both in Canada as well as that verdict against Colorado. New Jersey is in town, and a couple of subtle lineup changes made by the head coach Craig Berube for this one. Toropchenko moving up to the third line. First and foremost, though, guys, the fact of the matter is this team against the Devils needs to be able to come up with and muster more offensive production, period.
That winds up being the key. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
power play, too.
Power play. Well, it almost becomes kind of that, how can we simplify things? That's the message. Not the message. Craig Berube, I don't want to say this and say, well, this was kind of the message from Craig Berube. He was talking about building confidence within his team. I remarked to Jamie after the interview that we had with him, you know, if you go back to the weird comparison, but when you go back to the Seahawks Legion of Boom team, okay, with that secondary, a lot of people forget how good that defensive line was. And one of the things that Pete Carroll wanted to do when he got back into the NFL was simplify things for his defense. And it was just basic. It was a cover three behind, and he had the personnel to do it because Earl Thomas took away half, the back half of the field. But Dan, the defense, it was one gap. That was it. They were responsible for one gap.
Yep. So simplify it.
Simplify it, and when you simplify it, you can play faster. So forget kind of the X's and O's aspect of it, because I wonder if we're looking at a team that's got a lot on its plate coming in, trying to play a certain way defensively that you didn't play a year ago and try to make those changes, and it has not led to early results, and now you have an unconfident team that feels unsure. So how can you simplify it for the players so they can play fast, get some confidence, build up some wins and some momentum?
First thing I would do is get more pucks on net.
That'd be good.
With the power play. They've had 25 power plays, 32 shots. That's it. That's third fewest
not good enough
in the NHL. So they've got 11 total goals from 9 players. Thomas and Saad, they've got two apiece. Kyrou, Buchnevich, Verana, Kapanen, Blais, Sundqvist and Neighbors have 1. Shanahays, Toropchenko, Alexandrov have none. I mean, that's just not going to cut it. And the power play is 1 for 25.
Oof.
You know, it's just 15 goals in 8 games. It's 31st in the NHL. 2 or fewer in 6 of 8. I mean, you start looking at the numbers, and it tells me shoot the puck.
Yeah.
To try to get, like you were saying, like just get traffic, get things in front of the net, make it move. Yeah. Get it going. I mean, those are things that are simple. You're talking about simplification. That's what I would say. I also think the Blues have been turning the puck way too much over coming out of their own zone. Mm-hmm. You look at that, they turn it over. Clog up the middle of the ice, but struggle to clear the zone. That's another thing I would look at. Those are all factors in tonight's game. And one thing New Jersey is, for fans that are maybe heading down to watch the game tonight, watch the speed of New Jersey. I watched them the other night. Man, they are fast.
Yeah.
Holy cow, are they fast? It's going to be, it's going to be an interesting game for the Blues.
As far as evaluating, how critical is this 4-game stretch in isolation and as far as projecting what this team could be heading into the winter. 4 games at home in succession against the opponents coming out of the Eastern Conference. Really, how critical is it?
You know, Bradford, I don't want to minimize your question because it is a good one, and the way you phrased it with the home games and stuff like that was well done. But I don't know if the schedule matters as much as the start. You know, this team finding some sort of identity that they can play with, and maybe it's just an identity for November, and they have to build upon that. And it's not necessarily the way they play all season long.
Sure,
but it's finding that consistency within your play as opposed to how the schedule sets up. Now, maybe to your question,
I think they're big games.
I think they're big games, so you don't fall further behind early, but. What's going to matter the most? How they play stylistically.
So what if you come out of this, and he's asking about Bradford brings up a great point. You're asking about the next 4 games. Mm-hmm. What if you come out of this and Kairu's got 1 goal and Thomas
caught him?
Just eat the next 8 years on that thing. You know what I mean?
Send a message. Yeah.
It's like starting to now. It's like, oh man, you're going to grab the stick a little bit tighter.
Yeah.
Guys are playing tight, and it can spiral really fast.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think the next 4 games are big. I mean, they're not idiots. They know that they're saying the same things that we are talking about. They know the stats. They know that they're not scoring goals. They know they've been awful on the power play. It's right there in front of them. Mm-hmm. So that's why I look at the 4 games as being important.
And rightfully so. We've spent so much time dissecting and dedicating the time to the offensive struggles. Well, I'm also intrigued to see the contrast as far as the performance in front of the respective goaltenders tonight. You're rolling with Binnington. In all likelihood, I don't think it's a great grand surprise that tomorrow night will fall to Hofer. Structurally speaking, let's say you have a representative good effort versus New Jersey. Can you sustain it with the understudy, no offense intended, in net the following night?
Depends on how you play in front of them.
Yeah.
It depends on how you play in front of them. If the forwards can't, generate a strong forecheck to just possess the puck. Dan, you broke it down perfectly. Get funnel pucks to the net. How about possess the puck?
That's puck possession's not been where it needs to be.
It's been terrible.
And that's what I'm talking about. Coming out of their own zone, they lose the puck a lot.
Yeah.
It's not crisp in that regard. There's just a lot of things kind of missing right now.
Yeah, it's clunky.
I think one of the positives has been Parayko and the way that he's played. And he takes a lot of heat, I think, in town because he's not Chris Pronger. I mean, you've heard that a million times, but he's played well. There's only so much that Binnington can do. And if you don't score, it looks ugly.
Yeah.
And, they've had a couple of bad periods when they played Vancouver. They had a bad period against Colorado. And I just think when I watch this team, when you have one bad period, it's tough for them to make it up. When you don't score a lot of goals, their margin for error is tight.
Yeah.
And so they've got to play a full 60 minutes to have a chance to win.
Mm-hmm.
Let's switch to focus on one of the most polarizing players in football. We'll really dig into a lot of the matchups for week number 9 in the next segment. But Deshaun Watson slowly working his way back, working through a rotator cuff issue. And sometimes, guys, the jokes just write themselves. So Cleveland has Arizona on the schedule this weekend. Cleveland is in the mix in the AFC North, right there in a competitive division. Watson now says, as he's trying to steel himself to play, that he, when it comes to that October 22nd game, he tried, allegedly, to return versus the Colts. He jumped the gun. But right now, in the here and now, the arrow is going up, and I will leave it at that.
Would you go with P.J. Walker instead?
If Watson's not healthy?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What if he is healthy?
If he is healthy, you got to roll with Deshaun Watson. You're married to him.
Yeah.
You're married to him.
A lot of money, man. A lot of money.
You guaranteed that. This is why you don't guarantee that sort of money. What incentive does Deshaun Watson have to stay motivated and all that? He's got his money.
He has
That's
the 24th best QBR in the league.
He's been terrible. Now, maybe that's injury related. I hope it is, because the Deshaun Watson that I saw at Clemson and at Houston was somebody that is a franchise player and one of the top 5 or 6 quarterbacks in the league, a winner. This version of Deshaun Watson has been pathetic.
He's like a tick off with everything, isn't he?
That game that he went in against was it the Niners? What was it? What was the game he started and then PJ Walker did? Like he medically got cleared.
I think it was the 49ers. Yeah, it was.
Was it the Niners?
Yeah. Wild one.
Medically cleared to go back in, and I don't blame him. Kevin Stefanski's like,
yeah, we're good.
You know what? We'll let you heal.
Yeah.
You're fine, buddy.
Yeah.
This is a disastrous situation for the Browns, who have actually a pretty good team.
They need to win. They have to win this weekend. I mean, Arizona is 1-7 this year when they've had the lead at halftime. How about that?
1-7 when they've had the lead.
Second half dictates what they could do, and that should be a win for them, for the Cleveland Browns.
And Anthony, I'm not saying that they have this surplus of game breakers on offense, but I don't know if you can pin it entirely on the lack of weapons there either. If you're projecting the performance or the setting there in Cleveland relative to what he had in Houston, okay, Amari Cooper, I don't know if you would classify him as a high-end number one, but you do have options there to be able to spread the field, but he's been so far off, more than a tick off, Dan, as you had said, that regardless of the vertical threats there, it's just not in sync.
Here's what he has.
He even looks slow to me.
Yeah, you're right. He does.
Yeah.
Here's what he does have. He has a defense that is incredible, and that offensive line is pretty good. Bill Walsh, there's a reason why Bill Walsh said the last thing that we need to complete a roster is wide receiver. You hear that, and it's like, well, Bill Walsh had Jerry Rice.
Right.
But he had everything else first. He knew, God rest his soul, he knew that a wide receiver was going to come in and demand the ball, because that's what top wide receivers do. It's nothing against them. It's the competitive nature. But if you don't have the quarterback or the offensive lines or the defensive line, you're screwed.
Yep.
Look at the Raiders.
They're awful.
How good are you
They
with
are
Devontae?
awful.
Devontae Adams is the best wide receiver in the league.
And they can't
Not
get the
named
ball to
Justin
him.
Jefferson. Has it mattered? No. Roster construction. So, like Cleveland, you're right, Brett. They have more than enough. They've got Amari Cooper. They've got David Njoku.
Yeah.
Elijah Moore's fine. Like they just traded Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Yeah,
Who cares?
yeah.
But like they've got more than enough there for Deshaun Watson to look better.
Don't you think
he doesn't need Justin Jefferson to be better than what he has been?
It's elevating the talent.
Loose.
Yeah.
He doesn't play carefree like he did prior to everything that took place.
Yeah.
And I also think physically he looks a step slower.
Yeah, I agree, Dan. It's Fastlane on 101 ESPN. Let's get into the matchups in the NFL, the National Football League. That's next on 101 ESPN.
Catch the Balloon Party with Tim McKernan and Action Jackson. Weekdays from 10 to 11 a.m. on 101 ESPN. The fastest hour of sports. Back to it. The Fast Lane on 101 ESPN.
All right, boys, let's get into the NFL Week 9 matchups. We already had one game play out last night. The Steelers came back. They were trailing for most of that game. I thought Tennessee was pretty much in control. I did. Outside of the first drive when Pittsburgh went down the field, because I thought, this offense looks a little different. And then you watch the next 8 drives, and you're like, oh no, you don't look different at all, Steelers.
So explain this one to me. You love football, so we talked about it earlier. Steelers have been outgained in each of their first 8 games. They're 5-3, so they've got a winning record. As a matter of fact, this is staggering. 790 yards, second worst to the Broncos, and they're 5-3.
It's terrible.
I mean, is Mike Tomlin that good? He must be.
Tomlin, I think, is the most underrated coach in the league. He gets the most out of his players. If you go back and you kind of look at each game, there's always a point where the other team shoots itself in the foot.
Yeah.
For example, last night with the Titans, that defense played pretty well up until the fourth quarter. There's that one drive, and Will Levis and the Titans were settling for too many field goals. Nothing. They got credit to Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh did a great job and took advantage of Tennessee losing, I think, 14 offensive linemen throughout the course of the game. But so Tennessee beats themselves. Baltimore, Lamar Jackson threw one of the worst interceptions you're going to see after a muffed punt by the Steelers. The Ravens were killing them for 3.5 quarters. Mm-hmm. Baltimore melts down, leads to a win for the Steelers. The Raiders, that was the Josh McDaniels game where he got goofy he decided to not take a field goal early in the fourth quarter, went for it, didn't get it, then scored a touchdown and went for 2, but didn't he mucked that one up. So every opponent the Steelers have played have just given them something at some point.
And Kenny Pickett has caught a lot of flack, but on a lot of occasions when he has had to make the throw
he's made it
down the field, he has made it.
Yep.
And last night, you have Pickens, obviously, with the foul up there in the end zone.
Dude, what was that?
Deontay Johnson comes up large.
Yeah.
Inconsistencies at the receiver position. If you can get anything out of the ground game, I don't care who the source is. Pittsburgh could actually be trending upward because right now you're seeing offensively still about the worst version you can see. Yeah. There is room for growth.
Yeah, no doubt. Pickens is an absolute stud. He was not on that play, though. I don't know how you don't get that second foot down because the throw was perfect. Let's talk about the Germany game, boys. Dolphins and the Kansas City Chiefs. This is one of those where, if we're talking about predictions and stuff, I look at Kansas City coming off a loss. I look at Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs only laying 1.5, and I say, give me some of that. Kansas City defensively has been excellent. And when Miami has faced any defense with a pulse, they've had issues. The other thing with Miami, it's the same thing with San Francisco. They're built the same way. If they don't play with a lead, they're in trouble. So if Kansas City has a lead going into the fourth quarter, give me Kansas City.
Mahomes 15-3 in a game after a loss. Keep that in mind. Miami offense,
record,
by the way, has scored on 21% of their drives. So this might be the game of the weekend. And let's face it, Kansas City came out flat against Denver. They'd clinched the AFC West. Mahomes had the flu. So looking forward to this weekend. Should be a great game.
They clinched the AFC West.
Yes.
Stoltz, we
basically
know. Done. We know that beyond Kelsey and Rice, Kansas City doesn't have this influx of options to go down the field. Having said that, I'm curious, why is there seemingly no priority this year? He's more than a gadget guy. Where has Jerick McKinnon gone in the screen game?
Yeah, that's been weird. I just feel like Andy Reid is doing the Andy Reid thing, and I love Reid. I think he's incredible.
Kinds of ways.
He is, but Isaiah Pacheco has looked fantastic in games, and Andy Reid's like, kind of bored with this. Why don't we just start throwing the ball again? There was a reason why Eric Bieniemy said the one time after he had Sam Howell throw the ball 60 times that Andy Reid would be proud of me. It's because Reid gets bored of the ground game. If you have more of a balance, I don't think the Chiefs have to have an outside the numbers guy. I think Rice is developing into that guy, and Kelsey's on. You can't cover him. But you got to run the ball more. You got to be balanced.
And that's an obvious extension of the ground game, and yet still, unfathomably, every third series you have Clyde Edwards-Helaire out there for no apparent reason.
No, it's a good point about McKinnon. I don't know about that because they utilized him to perfect. Remember, he had 5 games with 5 touchdowns in the middle of the year last year.
Fantasy monster.
Yeah, no kidding.
Flex.
Ravens and Seahawks. Boys, I think the Seahawks are a fraud. I do. First of all, Geno Smith is not playing well. Last year he played great, earned the contract. He has not played well. He's been a turnover machine, and if he's not turning the ball over, he's taking sacks. He's been good or okay in between the 20s. You get him in the red zone, I like Kenneth Walker a lot. Obviously, you love DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett on the outsides, and Seattle defensively, I think, is playing better than I expected. But I think this is a game that the Ravens flex their dominance again, just like they did against the Lions. I love the Ravens in this spot. They're ascending.
I don't know, man. Seattle's 5-0 when they pressure the QB.
They're a fraud
on at least 30% of dropbacks. So put the pressure on. I don't know, though. The QB for Baltimore is pretty darn good. He might be the MVP of the league. But I like Seattle in this game. At least to cover.
5.5.
I like them to cover.
If I'm a Baltimore enthusiast, though, this is an opportunity for me to actually have Lamar Jackson flushed out of the pocket, almost an old school style performance, because he will be able to have his druthers on the run. Zay Flowers has transformed the vertical component of that offense. You still have Mark Andrews. You've received next to nothing out of Odell Beckham. Just think if there's yet somebody else and another source out of the backfield who can assist Lamar Jackson. Really thought a deal might have been swung by Baltimore to land an RB. Didn't come to fruition.
No, now you're relying on Gus Edwards and Justice Hill, and it's the same deal with the Ravens because J.K. Dobbins unfortunately just can't stay healthy. And I feel bad for the kid, but he's out again for the year. Sunday night should be a lot of fun. But before we get to the Sunday night game, let's talk about the NFC East matchup between the Cowboys and Eagles. The Cowboys. This is how I view the Cowboys. I think they're a good team. I know they're not great. When you look at Dallas, the most impressive win to me was the one against the Chargers on the road, coming off that ugly 42-10 loss to the Niners. They went on the road. Everybody's kicking Dallas while they're down, and I thought Dak played his best game. But other than that, boys, here's the wins. Giants, Jets, you lost to the Cardinals, Patriots, Chargers, Rams. I don't think any of those teams has a winning record outside of the Jets, who just won their fourth game last week.
In stunning fashion
over the New York Football Giants, who clearly did not want to win. They didn't allow Tommy DeVito to throw the ball forward. The Eagles, to me, I think this is a tight game throughout. I think this is a fun one throughout. The Eagles have the better roster. I think their defensive line is gonna cause issues. I think Jalen Hurts, if they can run the ball a little bit more to save him, protect him a little bit. Otherwise, A.J. Brown is a beast. I think this is a game where Devonta Smith has a big game. Dallas Goedert is getting more into the mix. I like the Eagles overall more than Dallas, but I think this is going to be a tight one.
Can you control Dak? Now, the last two games, he has more rushing yards than he did in the first 5, which is kind of interesting. CeeDee Lamb, by the way, targeted 15 times last week.
Oh, how good is he?
The squeaky wheel.
He's pretty good.
The oil there.
He's pretty good.
In a complimentary fashion, too, you've actually noticed more out of Brandon Cooks, dare I say, over the last 2 games, maybe coming on, getting a little more familiar with the system. This is another prove-it game, a big game scenario for Dak Prescott. That's nice. His numbers over the last couple of weeks, very nice. But what are you going to do against the division favorite? Yeah. And to me, to some extent, Tony Pollard, he was never going to be the bell cow back coming out of there for Dallas, but some would say you may have expected a little more from him as the engine for the offense. Is this the week when you lean on him, not just coming out of the backfield, catching the screens, but being able to break off a couple of big ones?
Bradford, you beat me to the punch, man. I was going to circle back. The Cowboys have to run the ball. You have to have that balance there, or else I think Dak becomes a little exposed when everything's on him. Tony Pollard has not looked like the same back. I know a lot of people are like, well, he needs Zeke. No, Tony Pollard needs to be the guy that he was before the injury. That has been the issue. The speed isn't there. Like, Tony Pollard, I think, is more than capable of carrying the ball 20 to 22 times a game with 0 issues. Get that up to 25 touches per game. You get him involved in the pass. That has not been that guy this year. And I think that will be the thing that I think that hurts Dallas more than anything. All right, we'll wrap it up here with the Sunday night football game because this is going to be a lot of fun too. Bengals and Bills, and I've been chiding the Bengals for a while now. I've said, you know what, this is the year where everything catches up to them. They've had a great run, but they lost a lot of defensive players in the offseason because they wanted to pay Joe Burrow. Zach Taylor's offense has, been around now for 3-4 years. You get these defensive coordinators catching up. And I was right for 2 months. And I'm about to be wrong.
Because of Joe Burrow.
This Bengals team is
pretty
back.
Good. Yeah.
They're back. The Bills are back sliding. The Bills have not played well. I know they beat Tampa last week. Okay. Home game, short week, whatever. You go back to the New England game, you lost. You should have lost to the Giants. You did lose to the Jaguars. They have not looked like the same team since the Miami game, and they've lost too many defensive players. I think the Bengals win this one in an absolute shootout.
Is it simply as Joe Burrow being healthy?
Yes.
You know, his calf is now fully healed, and he's able to maneuver a little bit in the pocket. And
they're running the ball, too. They don't even want to run the ball.
They are. But give me Joe Burrow at 100% and watch out.
Mm-hmm.
Much like Baltimore, Cincinnati has ample room to grow. Mixon hasn't had a lot of signature performances this season in what will likely be his last campaign in Cincinnati. You could say the same thing for T. Higgins. T. Higgins has provided next to nothing for that roster. You know who's actually been a nice compliment to Jamar Chase of late, though? Tyler Boyd.
You love Tyler. Oh, yeah. Bradford once I've said, Taj Boyd's looking good or something like that. I'm
did.
The old Clemson quarterback? Taj Boyd?
Yeah.
Tyler Boyd. Yeah. Taj Boyd. Do you remember Taj Boyd?
I certainly do.
From Clemson?
I certainly do.
Taj Boyd. All right. That'll do it for us.
He was
here
right
at the
before
NFL.
Trevor Lawrence, wasn't he?
Taj Boyd, I think, is going back a little bit further. Because Deshaun would have been.
Okay, yeah.
But Taj Boyd might have been before Deshaun.
I think he was.
Yeah. He was a decent player.
Yeah.
All right. We've got our...
Don't question him. Dabo will call in.
Yeah, no kidding. Question me over Taj Boyd, I'll stab you.
Exactly.
That's what Dabo says. Biggest question of the day next on 101 ESPN.
This is Robert Thomas, and it's game day on your home of the Blues, 101 ESPN.
Blues Game Day is presented by SSM Health Orthopedics, your nationally recognized team for knee and shoulder pain relief.
Don't pull over. You're in the fast lane. Broadcasting live from the Car Shield studio on 101 ESPN. It's time for the Fast Lane's biggest question of the day.
All right, time for the biggest question of the day here in the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN with Dan McLaughlin. I'm Anthony Stalter. Let's kick it back to our guy, Bradford Bruns.
Tomorrow afternoon in Athens, gentlemen, the place to be as Missouri gets that coveted national television slot at 2:30 versus the Bulldogs. We've talked about it quite a bit throughout the course of today's program. We know that Mizzou is the major dog entering this tilt at present. The line 15.5, fluctuating between 15.5 and 16. Mizzou's coming off of the bye, but at the same time, Georgia absolutely ambushed Florida last weekend. It hasn't been close for the last couple of weeks. And so the question really is here, can Mizzou hang in the early going, withstand some of the early blows on the road, and be able to sustain any sort of offense long enough to last in the game tomorrow afternoon?
I think the thing that Mizzou needs to do above all else in this game is play complementary football. All three phases. I don't think this is one of those, well, you get into a shootout and you're going to be fine. No. Or, well, Mizzou's defense has... No. I think it's got to be complementary football. It starts off with your special teams. It starts off with field position. Can you create a turnover? Dan, that was the first thing out of your mouth in the 2 o'clock hour when we talked about Mizzou. You're absolutely right. Can you create a turnover or two? Can you win the turnover battle?
There you go.
Can you
capitalize too?
Yes. And if you get into field goal range and you fall short, there's certain spots in a game, sure, you take your shot, right? I don't think this is one of those, go for it on every fourth down, that's how we got to win, or onside kicks and all. If you play complementary football, I think you're good enough to keep it within one score heading into the fourth quarter. And then it becomes its own individual game.
What concerns me,
what I mean?
Yeah, I get you. I think what concerns me is that with Georgia, there was no Brock Bowers, and it was no problem last week. And Beck put up 315 yards with 2 touchdowns, and when it looked like, hey, Florida is going to make this a game, they just turned it up. They dialed it up and said, no, you're not. And they decided to do an extra week of practice, or extra day of practice this week. They have come into this game disrespected in a way, number 2 in the college football poll, and Mizzou is getting a lot of love. And I think that maybe Kirby Smart is like, hey, you see this? Let's go show everybody what we're about. Yeah. And that could be a problem in this game. But between the X's and O's of it, turnover battle, Luther Burden has got to have a great game. They got to get vertical. You talked about that earlier. Can't just dump it all the time.
Right.
And their defense has got to be able to stop the run. Their run game is there. I don't know. It's a tough test, man, for Mizzou. It's really tough.
Stop the run and force turnovers, right? The only way that Mizzou, the most subjective fan, I think, here could say to stay in the contest for a majority of the game, you have to be able to come up with a turnover or two. The edge rush, whether it's Darius Robinson or Johnny Walker, somebody else is going to have to step up. And if that means on defense, too, you get a little more exotic with your looks. You're bringing pressure from unconventional spots. This is the game, in my opinion, on the defensive side, that you come up with those schemes, because why else would you be holding on to anything at this point? Show it all.
Right.
Throw the whole book at Georgia.
Yeah, no, good call on that.
Well, I was just going to say, the other thing, too, is I'm talking about Burden getting the ball and making plays, and I can't wait to see him go against the number 2 team in the country. I mean, it could be like a coming out party, so to speak, a little bit. And I know true football fans, when I say true, I mean those that really follow it, know about Luther Burden, but he could explode on the national scene. But to your point, complementary football means, in my opinion with this a little bit, is that you got to have ball possession. You got to take time off the clock. Yeah. Because if the ball's in Georgia's hands, man, watch out.
That plays into what I said earlier about you want to play better defense, play less defense.
Exactly.
Play less defense tomorrow.
Control it.
Control it. Control the game. Be in control. that doesn't mean you're up by 3 scores. It just means you're in control. The other team feels as though the field is always tilted. They're backed up constantly because you decide to punt at midfield instead of going for it on 4th and 4.
Yeah.
Think the game that way. That's not being cautious or you're afraid. I think it's being smart. You got one game here. One game, get into the fourth quarter, one possession, do it that way. And you got to run the ball effectively, too.
This could be contingent on how he finishes the campaign, but going into next season, do you view Luther Burden as somebody who could be a viable Heisman candidate next year?
No.
Not at all.
No,
really.
I think he's a great player, but I don't think he's Heisman.
I would view it more as that his draft stock rises.
Yeah.
More so than a Heisman candidate, because it's always going to be a QB that's getting, mixing this year and what he's done. Mm-hmm. He's going to get a look. What Caleb Williams did last year, to me, it always seems to fall on the QB, unless you are just an all-world ridiculous wide receiver. And I'm not saying he's not that, but I just don't know if he'll get the attention that maybe he properly deserves.
There are differences to be sure, but is it a step too far to say that he does compare favorably with Marvin Harrison Jr.? Why in 2024 could he not be college football's version of Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Because he's not at Ohio State.
Yeah, that's a big thing. I think he could put up great numbers. But to Dan's point, it's just the field is tilted too much in favor of the QBs. There's always going to be, we thought Caleb Williams is going to be a slam dunk this year, and now we're talking about Michael Penix Jr. or Marvin Harrison Jr., and we're talking about these other players that emerge. So I think it's going to be tough for him to win a Heisman. I mean, you're talking about somebody that is basically Marvin Harrison Jr., where he's winning the Penn State game.
It's bold, yeah.
Like Ohio State and Penn State were neutral. Outside of Penn State didn't have Marvin Harrison Jr. That's really what it came down to.
So
now,
go back to last weekend, even against Wisconsin.
Sure.
He's the difference maker in that game.
Absolutely.
I think it's interesting. Let's just say,
I never thought about it though, Bradford. I'd like the out of the box thought
for fun. If Mizzou wins tomorrow, I mean, who knows? Anything could happen. If they went out, they're in the college. They very well could be a one-loss team that's in the college football playoff.
Oh, you went out, you're in.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, because you have won. You would have beaten Georgia.
Yep.
Kansas State. Whoever's ranked in the SEC championship
and won the SEC championship.
Yeah. With LSU looking better and better, pending the result of tomorrow's game versus Alabama.
It's a good win. The LSU loss. I mean, it would be, if there is such a thing as a good loss.
There is.
Yeah.
In the committee's eyes, if you think back to it, the committee has been pretty staunch with good. What's your resume? What are your wins? And if you have a loss, what's your loss? If you have 3 ranked wins and your loss is to a ranked team,
that's right.
They'll excuse that loss without any hesitation. It is about who you beat more than who you lost to.
And at the end of the day, the SEC is still the SEC and treated as such. I will believe it when I see it. As far as the Pac-12 fielding more of those representatives, really, right. I'm still skeptical.
You're not going to get 2 Pac-12 teams in there. I agree. You're not going to do it this year.
No.
I know Oregon and Washington are great, but like whoever wins the Pac-12 championship between those 2 teams, if they face, that's going to be
the team that gets in.
Be the team that gets in.
Yeah.
The other team's going to be playing in the Rose Bowl.
For a couple of weeks, a lot of people feel as if we've been waiting for that other shoe to drop for the Huskies too.
Oh, they've been on thin ice. And this is why I joked earlier about the trap game tomorrow against USC, where odds makers are like,
in LA,
come to me, my Husky bettors.
I know.
All of you line up, because it feels like that's a game, and the line dropped to 2.5. That is one of those games where everybody's lined up on Washington.
Trojans defense though is so bad.
Terrible.
It's so bad.
They're terrible.
Yeah.
And I was duped too into thinking that USC defensively, because they had all those transfer players come in. Over time, they'll get better.
Nope.
Not a chance.
You forgot the head coach, though, Anthony.
Forgot the head coach is Lincoln Riley, and we're just going to go offensively.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll play less defense, too, because I'm just going to throw constantly.
Which is all he does.
Yep, that's exactly right. All right, we've got Fade or Follow, and we'll wrap up the show next on 101 ESPN.
101 ESPN Sports Center.
Blues and Devils to do battle. Good afternoon. I'm Bradford Bruns, and this Sports Center update is driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Roughly 70 minutes from now, St. Louis faces off with visiting New Jersey downtown. Jordan Binnington will be in net for the Blues, who are coming off of 2 straight losses. Robert Bortuzzo back in the lineup for this one on the blue line, while Alexei Toropchenko gets elevated to the third line among the forward group. Tomorrow on the gridiron, Mizzou and Georgia collide at 2:30 p.m. The Tigers trying to improve to 8-1. The Bulldogs, on the other hand, could go to 9-0. 101 ESPN carries coverage of Texas and Kansas State starting at 11 a.m. The Sports Center update was driven by Johnny Londoff. Find new roads and shop 24/7 at Londoff.com and LondoffAutoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
It's time for FanDuel Fade or Follow on the Fast Lane.
Brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more.
Everyone follow us.
I'll fade.
Money, 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 money.
All right, we got Dan again. Dan is back for Dan. What is this now? Is this your 4th week or your 5th week?
This is my 4th week. Yeah,
Right.
2 wins and a push. So.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. You had a push mixed in there. Well, congratulations on winning last week. Although you do have to remind me, what did we give you? Oh, we gave you the 2 options, right?
Yeah, you gave me the Jordan Binnington saves or the World Series.
Adolis Garcia, yeah.
Yeah.
Both.
Yeah, I went hockey.
Well, both hit, so you were
Nice.
The Binnington one got a little hairy there. I was afraid they were going to pull him.
That's what I was, too. I was watching the game, said, please just don't pull him.
Yeah. Leave him in
Love
there.
it. How you doing, Dan? Everything good? You going to have a good weekend?
I hope so, Dan. Nice talking with you. It's a pleasure finally getting to talk to you. But, yeah, hopefully have a good weekend.
Awesome. Pleasure to talk to you as well.
Well, let's make it a real good weekend, shall we, Dan? The 3 of us, Bradford, Dan, and I, we all got together in the last couple of breaks, and there's a couple of games that we all liked, and we just whittled it down to the big 8:30 a.m. game on Sunday morning between the Dolphins and the Chiefs. Dan?
Yes, sir.
What is Patrick Mahomes' record again coming off a loss?
15-3 in the game after a loss.
15-3 off a loss.
I have another one, too.
Please.
Taylor Swift was not at the game last weekend.
And they got crushed.
Yeah, so you got to consider that, too.
Is she going to Germany? She's got to be going to Germany.
No,
right?
but the hot button topic right now, will she be back for the Thanksgiving holiday with her man?
Either way, in the Tyreek Hill revenge game, we are going with the Chiefs, Dan, -1.5.
You bet we are. I love it.
I see this game. If the Dolphins don't have the lead, they're like San Francisco. They don't play as well. The play action doesn't play as well. I think Chris Jones wrecks things for Tua. We all like the Chiefs, Dan, -1.5. Would you like to fade us or follow us?
Oh, man, I followed you guys so far for 4 weeks, or for 3 weeks. I'll have to follow you again. Yeah, I think the Chiefs are going to be a little angry and take it out on the poor Dolphins.
What a boy, Jamie. I love it.
Yeah,
or Dan.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I was thinking of Jamie because Jamie has been with you on the last, 3 or 4, what you said, Dan, that you've been with the
4.
guys. So hopefully I'm not going to bring you bad luck here.
Well, I had BT last week, so
okay.
That's right, yeah.
You'll bring me a good luck.
That's right. BT gave out the Adolis Garcia pick. So anyways, Dan, good luck to you. We appreciate you playing Fade or Follow. We love that you're following us again. Go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks,
have a
Dan.
good weekend.
You too. Thank you. So if Dan wins, because he followed us, or if the Chiefs cover, Dan gets $50 of FanDuel's money, and he gets to come back next week.
Awesome.
So, he did have the one push. I think it was on the Washington-Oregon game, if I remember correctly. We had Washington. They kicked the field goal at the end. So Dan's been close a couple of times. He's walked the tightrope with us.
Hey, push, you're still living.
That's right. Exactly.
You're still living.
If you missed anything from today's show, which included 2 hours of Jamie Rivers, we talked a lot of Blues in those first 2 hours. Dan McLaughlin has been with us the entire show, but the last 2 hours we switched it up, did a little baseball, a little football, had a couple of Sports Six Packs mixed in there with some. I mean, we had basketball. We covered a lot.
We did that too. I forgot about that.
We took every angle of the Mizzou game. Mizzou and Georgia. So if you're a Mizzou fan and you're listening before tomorrow's game,
so what's going to happen? They're going to cover? They're going to win?
Yeah. I feel Bradford and I were talking about this. I think they either lose by 14 or 17.
Really?
Really? So you're right in the middle.
I do.
You're right in the middle. So you're not helping me here.
No.
Not
one bit.
15 and a half, and you're going 14 or 17.
That's correct.
Great. Thanks for the advice.
Another interesting play would have been number of carries for Cody Schrader tomorrow.
I think it's going to be a bunch. 20?
Needs to be.
Well, if you're down.
Yeah, you got to throw the ball if you're down.
So hopefully it's a lot for him.
But he's got to have a big game to the point of him getting the ball and what we talked about, time of possession or keep the clock running or complementary football, which is what you're saying. He's got to be able to run the football.
And he's going up against a bunch of behemoths we know on that Georgia defensive line. But at the same time, this is somebody, Anthony, who when he is met initially, the yards he is able to gain after contact, he keeps those legs churning. It's no longer just a great story. Seriously, he is able to churn out the yards. He prides himself. We've heard about this throughout the season. The press room there at Faurot Field. Fourth quarter, when that time arrives, that's when he wants to be at his best, outlasting everybody. Big time endurance.
He was having a big game against LSU.
Who do you guys like, City or KC this weekend, too?
It's a big game for City.
Yep. I'm going City.
Rebound.
Yep. Bring it back home.
Clean sheet.
Bring it back home.
2-0. Roman Berkey. Clean sheet.
2-0. I like that.
Are you back in attack mode, albeit on the road? You have to be.
Have to be in.
Don't stray away from what got you to that point.
Wasn't the same team that played in game one. So I'm pulling for City, obviously, and it should be a fun match.
Absolutely. Hey, by the way, our podcast available at 101ESPN.com or your 101 ESPN mobile app, all brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. There you have it. Bradford Bruns, thank you, sir, for filling in for Andrew Marsh today. Great job.
Pleasure. Appreciate it, guys.
Bradford's been on the board now for, I think, 8 straight hours. Or 7. Has it been 7? 8?
At this point, everything
blurs together. Yeah, absolutely. Dan, always love doing radio with you. And you're going to be back next week.
Yep, be back a couple of times next week, I think.
All right, good man.
Yep, thank
Bradford,
you,
I don't know, did you pull any criticisms or compliments? I don't think I gave you the heads up on that.
It's all good. Just a lot of love from the 314 as well as the 636 for Danny Mack back in the house today. Yeah, back in the house. I liked the fact, guys, it was my first opportunity to experience a bit of that 3-man weave action with you guys. First 2 hours with Jamie. It's fun. It's just a big
it's
old
a
party.
4-man weave. Come on, you're in there too, baby.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're
in there too.
Stay humble.
You got it.
What are you doing for the Mizzou game, Bradford?
Yeah, you're the ultimate Mizzou fan.
He's the ultimate Mizzou fan.
Well, as a matter of fact, it's interesting that you ask because this game unfolds on my dear wife's birthday. So this one's going to be viewed on tape delay. So happy early birthday to Becky. But I'll be watching perhaps in the wee hours, but reviewing that tape ad nauseum.
So what happens, though, so you're saying it's your birthday, which is great. You know, happy birthday to your wife.
My son turns 2 tomorrow, too.
Happy birthday
there we
to her.
go.
November 4th, yeah.
Awesome. So you're going to spend time with her, quality time.
No doubt.
And are you not going to be checking on the score, or what are you going to do here?
Well, it all depends on the venue, and that has yet to be revealed because we need the element of surprise, Dan. So the element of surprise.
But in today's day and age,
get me in trouble.
You can't avoid it.
I've done it. It's hard. It is. So basically, you have to turn off your phone and hope like nobody has an emergency.
There you go.
Because you're getting text messages and all that stuff. But I've done it. I've done it before.
In the car, you're listening to the game. You can't turn it off.
I've done it before on an NFL Sunday where I've avoided everything.
I can go radio silent.
Yeah, it's tough. And then you turn on your phone and you pray that nobody's been in a car accident and they need you. For Dan McLaughlin and Bradford Bruns, I'm Anthony Stalter. We appreciate everybody listening. Hey, everybody have a great weekend. Go Mizzou, go Blues. In fact, Blues pregame now.
Go City.
See? Yeah.
ESPN is everywhere. Wherever you go, we go.
Diamonds Direct and get a 14-karat gold solitaire setting